looking like about what last year's was.
All right, so it's starting the live stream here. It's gonna be for my channel now, and then I'll have to transfer it to the other channel. But I
Okay.
mean, this is kind of a pain in the ass. I don't know why it's not allowed right away.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
It's kind of
If
silly.
maybe some they're trying to keep bots out. Could be hard to say. Are
Yeah,
you? Is it looping back?
uh, it's sorry.
Is it looping back?
It was, but I took it out.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right, Bruno. Election night is not. We don't know who's going to win yet. Who's going to win? What's your prediction?
I think Biden is gonna win, man. I mean, he's by far the favorite. But I think we can see an upset. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not entirely sure he's gonna win. I think he will probably win, and I honestly I want him to win, but I think we can see an upset. So you never know. With these things, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Hard. Hard to know. I haven't honest to be perfectly honest. I haven't been following politics in this last year like I'd been doing in the years prior. I found it really divisive and really hard to listen to everyone because you listen to one side and um, I don't know, neither side is making too much sense to me these days, and so I found
Yeah,
it
I get
easier
it.
just to focus on my own life and whatnot. So anyway, but yeah,
I
I my
yeah, I
intuition
get it.
my intuition says Trump is going to win, but I don't know. I don't know.
You think that Trump is gonna win? Actually, really?
My That's what my intuition says. I might be totally wrong, but that's what I thought last time 4 years ago, and
Well,
then
you're right. You're
turned
right.
out
Four
that
years
way.
ago.
So I don't know, but 4 years ago I was following politics really closely, and I was really into it, and now I haven't been quite as much, but I still follow, the main things that happen. I'd say so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, man.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be interesting following it and seeing what's gonna happen. So your intuition says that it's gonna go Trump.
Well, there's a few things that they were talking about last election where when they do polling, people that vote for Trump generally are kind of ashamed, and so they don't say that they're going to vote for Trump. So the polls are skewed just a little bit towards Biden. It's like
Okay.
this very kind of a unique Trump situation because when someone calls you up on the phone randomly and gives you a question of who you're going to vote for, a lot of people, some people, of course, say, yeah, yeah, voting for Trump, but a lot of people are like, yeah, I kind of secretly am, but I don't really publicize that, and so that's one factor which throws the polling off. Um, Additionally, Trump's getting at some voters that are not traditionally involved in politics and so aren't as in part of the polling models. These are just things that they analyzed after the 2016 election and came up with ideas as to why it was so unexpected. I mean, Huffington Post was saying it was a less than 1% chance he would win, and it was a win, but um, so, but also hard to say. I mean, he's the incumbent, so that gives a little bit of an advantage. Honestly, I'm not sure who I really care wins. Like, part of me wants Biden to win, part of me wants Trump to win. I really don't. I'm not really that. I don't have a lot invested to be honest. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's not making me too biased. But yeah, that's but hard to say. It's really hard to say, man. I would say it's definitely a toss up.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Biden is probably, pretty strong favor in this one. Not so much the last one.
Yeah.
But I mean, the polls were basically giving a 7, 8 point. advantage to Biden. So that's, that's considerable. But on the other hand, in the swing states, that advantage was a lot smaller. So those are, because the electoral college, that's what really matters.
Yeah, true. The popular vote is kind of auxiliary in terms of actually who gets to be the president. Um, so
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is to some extent. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know. Give me just 1 second because I need to plug in the battery here.
gotcha.
1 second. I'll take care of her, and I'll put this. I'll run this up.
So it's looking like the live election results are currently Texas, of all things, is right now Biden 54% reporting, 51% of the vote to Biden, 47.7 to Trump. I have a hard time believing that Texas is going to go to a Democrat, but it's looking potentially possible. Still unlikely, I'd say.
All right. What's up? All right, Craig is gonna join us. The baby's she's crying a lot. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
How's that new life with the kid, Bruno?
Well, it's certainly very different. Hi, Craig. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. All right. I'm also interested to hear how things are with the new baby.
With the baby, I mean, she's very cranky right now. So
Well, it's election night, so yeah.
It's election night. Maybe she's afraid of the orange man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why she's crying.
Like the Great Pumpkin, only different.
Like the Great Pumpkin. I'm not really sure, man. I'm not really sure. But she's kind of cranky. Usually at night she's more relaxed and she falls asleep. So I don't know. She's maybe she can feel the excitement in the air and the tension.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you call it excitement, but we might call it anxiety as well. So
Anxiety.
yeah,
Well, that's another way to look at it for sure. So David thinks that Trump might win. I'm thinking more Biden is probably going to win. What's your prediction?
I don't think I'm going to make a prediction about this because I made a prediction in 2016 and woke up terribly disappointed the next morning. So I'm just gonna, I guess, watch and see what unfolds because that's all I really can do, right?
Just riding the wave. Mario says that he's watching the stream to say hi to him. Hi, Mario. Thanks for watching us.
All right.
Hey, Mario.
So yeah, but hopefully he'll be happy with that. But thanks for watching, Mario. Yeah, unfortunately, this is not streaming to the right channel because I can't make it work because it's still a new
Damn
channel.
that technology.
Damn the technology, exactly. Yeah, I don't know why they do this, that you can't stream right away.
Oh, they probably don't want, polls are still open in places. They probably don't want influencers, you know, that sort of thing.
It's yeah, I mean, it's kind of bizarre. I'm not sure. Not sure what the deal is. I might have to look at this afterwards when
Okay.
we're not live and you guys want to have a discussion. And so do I.
Well, YouTube is
I don't
taking
know.
after your daughter and being cranky.
What's that?
YouTube is taking after your daughter and being cranky this evening.
Yeah, it's a turbulent start to the evening, you know. YouTube's cranky, Sophia's cranky, so but it's gonna be a long night.
Mm-hmm.
So we have plenty of time, unless people
The
get
rest of
sleepy
our
and they need to
lives,
sleep,
yeah.
but there's a lot of time. I'm gonna have dinner as well because
No, that's fine.
I couldn't have dinner before. But yeah, so yeah, what do you guys think the significance of this election is? How important do you think this election will be or is for the United States and the world?
You mean the, dare I say this on YouTube, the we're gonna be okay versus we're fucked outcome, or?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, good.
Not a lot of people. Not a lot of people will watch us. You know, unfortunately, we're not Joe Rogan yet. We're coming for Joe Rogan, but
Well,
in a million
that's
years.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're, you know, no, I don't think a lot of people will see it. I think you can say whatever you want, Craig, and it's really not.
Okay, well, I'm sure they'll bleep me if they feel, you know, the strong urge to have to do that. So.
No. Yeah. Well, in some ways, it feels like whenever a president's going into a term that he knows he's never going to be reelected, like let's just say that Trump wins, and then they also have majorities in the House and in the Senate. That's going to give him kind of a free card to do whatever he wants because it doesn't affect his reelection. So he's going to care a lot less about perception, and he's going to bulldoze ahead with whatever Trump wants to do if he wins. I don't know. It seems like, I'm not sure if it's likely that he'll win. I honestly think it's probably a toss-up. The only reason I say that maybe he has more chance than we think he does is because last time he was in even a worse situation probably, and he ended up winning. But it's probably also a referendum on his presidency up until this point. I mean, but it's hard to say too because it seems like on the right, his support is quite high approval ratings on the conservative side, and they don't listen to the same media, so it's a very divided country at this point, and it's hard to say. I don't think he's winning over anyone else from the left, to be honest, but he's probably retaining about the same majority of people he's had on the right, I'd say.
Yeah, but what do you think the impact is going to be? I mean, it's probably going to be pretty different to have the next 4 years as you know, with Donald Trump in charge and with Biden in charge. I think we're looking at two very different outcomes. Do you guys think those are like radically different outcomes, or maybe not as radical as we might think.
Oh, yeah, I think they're pretty different. How would one put visions for the future between those two guys and their respective support bases? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean their visions are definitely different, but how? I guess what I'm asking is like how different is actually gonna be? You know,
How
you could,
different is going to be? Well, for one example, what David was talking about, where president would know that he wasn't going to be able to be president again. If they gain control of everything, that's going to change, right? You're going to have like president for life instituted, and I'm not a big fan of that sort of thing as a
you
longtime
think
American citizen.
you think if he won the next one, I mean this one, he would want to go for another term?
You want to go for the rest of his life? Yeah, sure. Why not? That's the kind of guy he is.
How long do you think he can keep ticking? I mean, the guy's. I think he's getting to be around 74.
That's true.
He looks like he's pretty healthy. Some people think he's getting his special cocktail of amphetamines every day, but
Who knows?
who knows? But how much longer can he be a president if he wins again and then wants to keep going?
As if they gain control of Congress as well as the executive branch and the Supreme Court, as long as he wants.
Well, I think he
I
means
don't
like I think
there will be
David
any
means like physically, you know.
standing in his way.
Well, like at a certain point, he'll reach a tipping point where he won't be able to do the job. Like he won't be able to keep.
At a certain point, someone will put us out of his misery, but that's yeah.
Yeah. Hard to say. Well, I don't think I'd be hard pressed to believe that he would go for rewriting the re-election rules to extend the 8 years to a 12. Do you think he would? Do you think?
I think he would abolish the term limit altogether, and if he had Congress with him, they could do that.
Do you know?
Supreme Court with them, they could rule it constitutional. So, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't he?
Do you know what the majority required to change that law would be?
No idea. Nope. I don't know what has to be done in Congress, or I'm pretty sure that it's 2/3 if it goes to the states to make that decision. But again, I'm not a constitutional expert, so I would have to look that up.
No,
yeah,
me neither.
I don't think that's originally in the Constitution. I think it might be an amendment to the Constitution.
Well, yeah,
sure.
after Franklin Roosevelt is when that was.
Yeah, was that an amendment to the Constitution?
I would imagine.
Yeah, because Roosevelt. No, was it Roosevelt?
Yeah, it was Roosevelt who had four consecutive terms.
Yeah, four terms. So
yeah.
I guess there was no limit until then, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's strange though, because not a lot of presidents had more than 2 terms in the past,
Nope.
right? Only Roosevelt, I think.
I believe that is true, because I don't think Washington had a 3rd term.
No, I'm sure he had. Well, I'm almost sure. I'm not going to say I'm sure, but I'm almost sure he had 2.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
George Washington.
Yeah, George Washington. But I don't think anybody else had more than 2 until Roosevelt.
That might be. Well, I think that George Washington, I'm pulling from like elementary school classes, but I'm pretty sure that he had a number of terms and then decided to not run again. People were going to vote for him. He was still quite popular, but then he decided not to because he said, "This is a republic now. We're not. I'm not a royal king like you had in England," and so he stepped down. He may have been reelected. Most likely would have been, but decided to keep the tradition of the elected representatives for the republic instead of just going with this leader that continues on for 30, 40 years sometimes.
So if that's the case, and I'm just speculating, but maybe that kind of like set up the tone for, okay, that's kind of the acceptable limit of time. You know, you go into the presidency, you have a couple terms, and then that's about time for someone else to come in. I don't know if that played a role or not. But I do think that Franklin Roosevelt was the first one, at least in a long time, to get that more than two-term president.
Yeah.
Well, there was one who was president and then he was voted out, and then 4 years later he was voted back in. And I think that was in the 19th century, but I'd have to look and see which one that was. But that's the only time I remember that happening.
Yeah, that would be pretty unlikely with Trump. I would think. I think if he's out, he's going to be out.
If he's out, he's going to be in prison. So out.
Lots of good questions to debate tonight. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Well, okay then. You go. Take your second.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to Google here. What's the 22nd Amendment? It says that Section 1, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. I wonder what majority would require to get that. I think it'd be either 2/3 or filibuster-proof majority. Just checking that, because that would be quite the scenario if he tried to do that.
Yes,
I wouldn't be very happy.
Constitution ratified by let's see, 38 of the 50 states to ratify it, and I'm seeing, I think, a 2/3 for Congress.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Sounds like he'd be required to get a really strong majority. I don't know that it's probable that we could get that anymore. Do you think that?
Probable, improbable. We live in an age of improbabilities, it seems. So I'm not going to rule anything out.
All right. Are you okay? Okay. Let's see here. 57. Okay. I'm following up on these on the Google live updates for the election. Right now, Trump has 92, Biden has 119 electoral votes. Somehow New Mexico. Okay, let's see here. Florida probably is going Trump, it looks like. And Texas is pretty neck and neck with the lead on Biden, which is hard to say for sure, since it's what order they come in. It's only 57% reporting at this point, but
right. My understanding is much of what you are seeing are results from the in-person voting, and the stuff from the absentee ballot voting will pick up later, but that varies from state to state, of course, because they count things in different orders.
Yeah. What do you think? Craig? How is the world different in 4 years from now if Biden wins versus Trump wins?
Well, for one thing, I suspect the pandemic will have been brought under more scientific control. I suspect things like climate change will have been brought under more scientific control. I also actually am skeptical that Biden will finish out 4 years in the presidency, and just because of his age and general health. And we may see Kamala Harris in that instant become president, which is fine with me because she was my first choice anyway, back when the Dems were looking for a nominee.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. We'll probably have more. I think that it was announced recently by the Trump administration that the COVID pandemic is now over. I think that's what someone was saying at work. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, scratching my head like, is it over? It's been a while since it started, but I keep getting texts from NPR News every morning that the cases are increasing every day. We had like 3,700 new cases reported today.
I mean, it's worse than ever. Europe is going into
Yeah.
lockdown again because they're
Right?
just don't see a different way. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but it's definitely
Yeah.
bad. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah.
So I mean, for it to be over is really just a fiction. Did they really say that?
Well, I could pull it up and just to get a confirmation, but that's what people are saying at work that yeah, Trump said the pandemic was over. The administration has solved the problems. It's now behind us.
Oh boy, I hope they didn't say that, but I'm never surprised about what they say or do not say.
Okay, let's see.
Nothing is really surprising anymore.
No.
What's that thing that we're talking about in one of the philosophy meetings a while ago? Was it that concept? Was it like gaslighting?
Hmm.
Is that the word? Is it gaslighting? Because I was having that conversation
term's,
with you, Greg.
Yeah, thrown around for a lot of things. And personally, I just kind of prefer the old fashioned liar, pants on fire myself. But I guess.
Well, but I'm talking more about the concept of, this is happening, but let's all say something else happening and pretend it's true,
Have you ever read a philosopher by the name of Harry Frankfurt?
No.
No, you should. He wrote a very famous treatise, which was turned into a very thin book called On Bullshit. And his philosophical technical definition of bullshit basically is just that statements are made with complete disregard to whether they be true or false, simply that they be persuasive. And so as you look at that, basically all of advertising is largely bullshit. And most political speech coming from anyone, from any party at any time, is largely bullshit. And I kind of like that term.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I, when watching the debates, I didn't really watch them too much. I felt like there's no content in there that was very interesting. I mean, you just you spend time watching two guys debate. Like the first one was a total train wreck. I hope no one watched the whole thing because I swear their IQ points probably dropped 10 points if you were watching that. But
well, I did not watch 1 second of any of them, so I think my IQ is intact.
Good for you. Yeah, and then the second one. Well, the second one was canceled, and then the third one, I guess, it took place, but apparently that was a much more professional presidential debate. But at the same time, I still didn't watch it, and the reason being that every time I watch a debate like that, they're just memorizing phrases and lines and something that's going to resonate with their voter base. They're not actually talking. Like you watch a Joe Rogan podcast, and he's sitting there with a guy or a girl or whoever, and they're just having a cool conversation, and they really dig deep into the subject matter. But the debates, on the other hand, I mean, it's just talking points and who's a little wittier and who's a little quicker on their feet as far as getting some good comeback. It's just totally uninteresting to me. I don't even know why we still do it. I wish that they would have both sat down with Rogan on his podcast, and Rogan could have had 3 hours with both of them, and they could have just hashed it out. I think that would have been a great thing for not just the U.S.
I wish that they would have sat down with a professional news person and had those discussions. But
yeah, that too. That wouldn't be bad.
But that's all wishful thinking. So
yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. The reason these debates are such a big deal goes all the way back to Kennedy and Nixon. And that's basically part of the reason how Kennedy defeated Nixon is because Kennedy had a good TV presence and Nixon didn't. And
that's interesting.
Starts.
Yeah, I suppose before the television, do you know, Craig, if they had radio debates? no?
I don't. I suspect there may have been some. But those were also back in the days when, what the hell, Dewey defeated Truman, according to the newspapers, and of course he didn't. So,
Yeah.
Hi, Bruno, Craig.
hey, Rupinder, how you doing?
Man, I had to quit. I had to come. I had to come join you guys.
How
Had
you
to
doing?
quit.
Good.
So
Let's
what
see.
are you
Looking
not
like
drinking
Einstein.
anymore? Are you not smoking anymore? Would you quit here? Well,
Yeah, I guess
okay,
so.
that one I see. You're still drinking. So
Yes, those.
I'm still drinking coffee. So.
That's good. Bruno, your voice is not coming.
Bruno, you are
Oh.
muted. Thank you.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yep.
You
Yes.
were muted that whole time. I didn't hear a word.
Oh shit! I was speaking to Rupinder, welcoming him to the chat and saying how cool you are because you always bring wine, and
Yeah.
you bring joy to the party. You bring joy to the party,
But
Rupinder.
I see joy when I look at Craig's face. He looks more like Einstein now. You know.
I think
He
Craig
looks more
looks
and more
like
like Einstein now.
Sir.
Einstein never had a beard. So
He never, no, but that doesn't matter. If he had a beard, he would have looked just like you, Craig.
you think so?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Craig looks very concerned. It's okay, Craig. I think we got this. I think it's gonna be okay.
What do we got?
okay. In what sense?
The orange man
We are
is
going to
going
lose
away.
Florida.
Ah,
The orange
all
man
right,
is
the
going away.
great pumpkin is going back into the pumpkin patch. You're saying
Maybe, but I think so. And Jesse's now bold. What happened?
It went away. Trump did this.
You've become Frank.
Oh my God, Jesse, is that you? I was like trying to think like who the heck this man is.
It's
Oh, I
Jesse.
realized it.
Jesse, he's bold. What happened?
It looks good, Joe.
Oh, it looks great. Looks great.
He looks great, man. You look like a sexy Bruce Willis from the 90s.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just
That was
say
a
get
bit
a
of an
room, but you guys
exaggeration,
already
Bruno,
have
but
one.
that's okay.
I
What's
like it
that,
this way.
Rupinder?
No, I was just kidding.
Man, Jesse, you look good. You look very different though. What happened?
Oh, I was going bald, so I decided to just nip it in the bud.
Just do it. That's Bruce Willis, man. That's the look. That's what real men look like.
Hey, Sean Connery. So there you go.
Yeah.
Our late lamented hero.
Well, Sean Connery passed away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rest in
a few
peace,
days
Sean
ago.
Connery.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Good, sir.
That was a shame, yeah.
Yeah.
We all love you.
Rare group of dudes. Yeah.
You know, I saw
Yes,
his
Jason
like
Statham's
last,
in there too.
Give a toast to my Scotsman.
Yeah, great Scotsman. But
wasn't there an accolade given to this guy, to Sean Connery, like just like less than 2-3 months back, and he looks so old, but he still looked great,
yeah,
you know.
he was like very good looking even when he was old. Even though he looked old, like really old, he was like super good looking.
That's the
Yeah.
dream.
That's the dream.
boy.
Yeah.
We all like the Scots and the Irish. It's just the Brits, you know.
He was very charming.
Was he bald?
Those-
Oh,
Towards
yeah.
the pretty bald?
Oh, yeah. Early,
Yeah.
too.
Maybe that's the key to looking good in your old age. How well do you bald?
If you're Sean Connery, the trade-off is dementia, apparently.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's sad, man. Yeah. Bobby
He
Charlton.
was 90. So
Bobby Charlton also got diagnosed with dementia. He's a very famous like footballer from the 60s. And then fortunately he also got diagnosed with dementia. Man, 2020 is not a very good year for anybody.
no, I think I read a post from Jeff Bridges that he has lymphoma. So
Damn.
He has what?
lymphoma,
Oh shit, man.
form
Man,
of
this-
lung cancer. He says
like
they have it
2020 is
managed,
really
but yeah, who knows?
2020 is really not a good year.
No,
Here's a prediction about 2021. January is going to be the most optimistic month, and then February people are going to crash very hard when things don't change much at all in most ways.
I think that's a pretty safe prediction. But do you think if Trump wins today, people are still going to be optimistic?
I think it's going to be riots if he wins today.
Where do you,
You say riot, I say civil war, but yeah.
Yeah, civil war, that however you want to like frame it. But
I don't think it. You guys really think it's going to be a civil war?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. But
Well,
Yeah, and I expect that Brianna is going to be in the front lines too.
it would be a one-person civil war? What does it take to actually kick off an American Civil War, though? Because I feel like there's just too much inertia for people to actually
Mhm.
go that far. How does that even
A lot of crazy
escalate?
people with guns, right? And we have a few of them, so.
I wonder if social media sites have had meetings creating contingency plans for what they'll do with communications if that happens to like calm things down.
Mhm.
I bet they have.
But other than the calm things down part, I agree with that. Yes, I don't know that social media has any vested interest at all in calming things down.
I'd hope that they would, Dorsey and Zuckerberg, I hope they would want to create unity and peace. I hope they wouldn't try to fuel the division. A lot of what they're doing is they just have a platform and people use it, and they use it how Zuckerberg doesn't want them to use it. But
Zuck basically cares about who pays him the most, so I don't think that being socially aware is really his bag.
Oh,
So
I don't know if Dorsey seems like he's ready to head for the mountains like any minute now, but there's I think Mark Cuban for one. He's planning on just running off to New Zealand. There's a lot of rich people that kind of see New Zealand as, a bolt hole when things, get crazy like that.
yeah, that could be. It's way down there. It's beautiful too. I've never been, but I mean to go. It's really cool there, I guess.
It would be a great place to be right now.
yeah,
I don't know if
it's really beautiful too.
I don't know if it's good to point this out right now, but it's not looking like it's going to be a landslide either way. It's looking pretty close, to be honest.
it's still early, but
Yeah,
I think Florida is lost, is my guess.
I think Florida's going Trump. Yeah,
But I think Texas is a fair play right now. So
right.
That's
So
gonna be
Florida's is going to Trump.
mhm.
I think so.
91% reporting. Trump 51.2. Biden 47.9. So probably going to, but Texas, that's remarkable. It's neck and neck. Oh, about 1% with half or 61%.
Where are you seeing that, David?
If you go
Just Google election results on Google, and it gives you a live updating feed of all the states coming in.
Okay.
I have CBS on, but since I am talking to you guys, I can't really listen to it at the same time. So I want something a little bit more useful.
The other one that will be interesting is the Senate race for McConnell and where that's going.
He's already
That's
won.
another biggie.
Heard that.
McConnell has won.
Okay, so we're gonna have two more people joining, Carolyn and Shobik.
Okay.
This is gonna be a pretty big crowd. What's up, Carolyn? What's up, Shobik? Whenever he joins.
Hi.
Hello.
Well,
Hey,
Hello.
the philosophy crew is back. Shobik is giving us some profile.
What's up, people?
Your camera is on profile, Shobik. Can you hear us, Shobik? I don't think he can even hear us for some reason.
You ever just stumble into a Zoom meeting?
Now it's the time to talk shit about Shobik to his face. So have you guys missed philosophy meetups?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good to whenever that happens. It might be a while, but
It might be a while until we can do it in person, but we can start doing them on Zoom pretty regularly and
yeah,
do some podcasts and stuff, become internet famous. And then people will come from all over the country to Minnesota philosophy meetups.
yeah. Hopefully, I've been doing quite a few meetups in the parks, so just outside, socially distanced. But now that winter's coming around, it's not going to be the best for that. So that's not.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be tough.
I don't know what's going to happen.
So, but the Civil War thing, I don't think that would actually happen, a civil war. I think that's pretty unlikely, but I do think that we're going to have some civil unrest. And I think
Yeah.
that's probably going to happen no matter what happens today. You know,
To be sure.
because it's so divided right now. There's fanatics on each side, so
Crazy people with guns.
yeah, and people with guns. So I do think that we're going to get some civil unrest, either we want it or not. And whoever wins, really.
Well, I know that I live in a suburb, and I'd say it leans right probably in Crystal. I'm not going to say where I live because that seems incriminating, but
Yeah. Don't say it, but yeah, Crystal is fairly. There's a lot of people that live in Crystal, so I think that's
it's pretty diverse actually. But there's a couple of people that I know, mostly a couple of older white guys, and they're telling me that if Antifa ever comes walking down their streets and starts doing something with their property or starts throwing stuff at their windows, that they're unloading on them. So I don't know. It depends on what happens, but definitely if they're encroached upon, I mean, who knows how much of that's like just big talk and how much of that's like actually what they're going to do. But a lot of people, at least here, are not too happy with Antifa, and then Antifa is obviously not too happy with Proud Boys and other groups like that. So there's probably a lot of provocation that's going to go on. Whoever wins, if Trump wins, probably more unrest. But if Biden wins, a lot of people on the right are going to be mad. You guarantee it. Alex Jones is going to be ranting about some conspiracy about how this and this happened, and people are going to think he stole the election, and there's going to be this going on, and it's not going to be.
Jones still have a platform?
I don't know. I really don't follow the guy, but I think Rogan has him on from time to time. So I think he's got a website. Maybe you could probably Google it.
Yeah, and Allison, welcome. It's nice seeing you, Allison.
Nice seeing everyone. It's been some time.
It's been some time. It's about time for us to get together again. So we have a pretty good panel here. This is almost like CNN here. Like 8 people. Well, more like 7 because Shobik joined and he went somewhere. I don't know. We're just looking at his bedroom. So 7 people.
Nice.
Better than CNN.
Better than CNN. Okay.
Allison, you want to give us your take on the elections? Who do you think is going to win, and who do you want to win, and what the impact that's going to have?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a pretty close race, and to be honest, I'm not really confident that they'll be able to finalize everything tonight in a timely manner, just because this has probably been one of their largest pools of voters in a while. So I think things could take a little bit longer than maybe we anticipated. Back in 2016, I mean, it was well past midnight when kind of the final pieces came in. So I was a little bit of a bump there.
Yeah, it's true. We're probably not even going to know who wins tonight, but unless we stay here until very late, which is a
This
possibility.
might be like a naive question, but the election results that are getting reported, do those include mail-in ballots? Do they just start churning out those
Yep.
results
That's a good-
today?
Depends on what state. They count different in different orders.
Hmm.
Does anyone remember what the deadline was for that? Did they have to be mailed in like by the 3rd at noon or something like that? And then hopefully they'd be
Again,
counted.
that depends on what state.
It also depends on
Yeah,
that.
it's state by state, right?
So hard to say for sure. But I
Who
bet
is the demographic of the like what's the difference between the same day voter and the mail-in voter? Like statistically, would it make a difference if you like only looked at same day voting today?
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
I
the
heard.
mail-in voters would be the ones who
I think I
believe
heard-
that COVID-19 is a problem, right? That's why they went and did absentee
Yeah.
ballots, as they didn't want to get in that mess.
But it's also because Trump has cast aspersion on mail-in ballots, and he's kind of like categorically said that like he's going to fight it. So he had asked his supporters to vote in person. So I think more Republicans are going to vote in person during the last day, and then I think that's going to like distort your statistical, I guess. I mean, that's a strong statistical variable.
yeah, it might be.
Wait, sorry, I didn't catch that. Who would be more likely to vote on election day?
The Republicans in person, yeah.
Yeah, that's why a lot of these states right now are leaning towards Biden, but as more of the on the day election votes are coming in, it's shifting. Like Biden was in the lead for Texas, and now Texas has flipped over towards Trump right now. So
Because more of the election day votes are starting to come in.
they're counting the before election day votes first, and then switching up. To a large extent, I mean, it depends on the state, though, right? Some states have rules where you can't even count mail-in ballots until then, I believe, the next day. So,
Oh wow, what's the rationale for that?
you know,
Don't know. Hard to say.
Oh, I found out today that the Electoral College doesn't even vote until December 14th or something.
Hmm.
yeah,
Just
they
to
wait for
throw it.
literally all the votes to come in. December 8th is when is the final date, and then after that, they will submit their electors.
Yeah.
Welcome, Lashane. Lashane just joined us. We're 9 now. 9 people,
Nice.
just like CNN.
Just like the Supreme Court.
It's like the Supreme Court. This is the election court online.
Feel one too many right now.
So is Amy Coney Barrett pretty final, or could the election influence that?
The election won't, I don't think will influence.
I think
No,
she's
she's been
confirmed.
confirmed by the Senate, so I think
Yeah, she's at this
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
just
Hey,
accept
Now
it.
there's a
Can you
6-3.
impeach somebody for no reason?
well, the target there would probably be Kavanaugh, and they probably have a reason for that. And if they got enough power in the Senate to convict, I could see that happening.
But like an office reason, or like any reason, anytime, like ever?
No, that he's unfit for the job. Right, and
I
there
haven't really
was a
looked
fair
into
amount
it.
of testimony to that effect that was ignored at his confirmation hearings. So,
It's really bloody good recently.
Lashane, we can't
you're
can't
whispering
speak
at us.
or hear you really.
Oh, really?
You're like whispering.
Oh, I didn't notice
weird.
I was.
It's like Voldemort, you know. It's weird. Voldemort online.
Oops, my fault.
I was talking with my roommate briefly, and he said right now it looks like it's close enough that we're not really gonna know tonight.
That might be. I think it's probably going to come down to a number of states. It looks like Florida is probably going Trump already, but Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. If we know the outcomes of the battleground states, we've got a pretty high chance of knowing who's going to win. So, but it's hard to say.
So close.
I'm looking at this Google map, and I don't understand how Wisconsin's already been called with like 0% reporting.
Called? Really?
Wisconsin is called?
Wisconsin
Well,
seems here on
well,
Google. I can see.
I mean,
Just according
Wisconsin
to
also
Legend,
hasn't
like,
processed
one.
any of their mail-in ballots because they can't process early voting or mail-in or anything until today.
Exciting.
Oh,
Yeah, I wash my hands of them. I'm not responsible for them anymore.
I grew up in
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
I met
They're not
my,
all bad people. They're okay people. I happen to be a Wisconsinite.
Me too, but that doesn't mean I want to live there and stay there.
The beer, Glarus beer, excellent. Spotted Cow is one of the best beers ever. I will say,
That is
in
true.
my humble opinion.
That's just a fact, though.
You from Wisconsin, David?
Well, I grew up there. All my family's from Minneapolis, St. Paul, but I grew up across the border in a really small town. So, yeah, but yeah. So I'm not really that Wisconsin. I'm just Midwest, I'd say.
Which town?
It's called
Hudson.
Luck. No, it's like about an hour and a half north of Hudson, probably maybe an hour. It's kind of in that part of Wisconsin that looks like a nose,
Mhm.
you know, on the left side of the state or the west side. But the town was like 1,200 people, so it was really tiny.
So it seems that speaking of Wisconsin, it seems that Donald Trump is winning in Wisconsin.
well,
Yeah.
I should
Voter
say I
suppression
meant,
in Milwaukee is absurd. Like the two liberal cities, it's a pretty even split population-wise, even in the university towns. But the voter suppression in the bigger cities is just absurd. Like Milwaukee is just so disenfranchised. It's horrifying.
Huh.
How
And
does
then the
that
rest of the
work?
state is like hick AF.
How does that work? The voting suppression. What do you mean exactly by that?
For example, there was a midterm earlier this year in April, and partially because of the pandemic and partially because of funding, which comes from our Republican-led state legislature, they closed all but 5 of the Milwaukee polling stations when there are normally 170.
Mhm.
Oh.
So that's
What?
just one example of what they do.
So wait, so they usually have 170 polling stations, but now they have 5?
In the last round of like counted elections, that's what they had. Yeah, they had 5. Like my best friend was living in Milwaukee at the time, and I was like, "Get your ass out to vote. I will drive down there and drag you to the poll myself." But you can't afford to take like 6 hours off of work to stand in line to vote in the middle of a pandemic, and there weren't even enough. Like, not that there are now, but there were even fewer safety measures in place because it was so controversial to even wear a mask. Like, you could see it all over the major news networks. Like, even John Oliver did a piece on Milwaukee voting. Like, and that's not the only place where it happens in Wisconsin.
How much of the change in the polling stations do you think was due to people just getting mail-in ballots and absentee ballots, or just due to like targeting of certain populations to?
There's a lot of targeting. I know a lot of it was due to the pandemic as well, but like historical gerrymandering in Wisconsin it's like Virginia levels. Like it's absurdly bad. And like we've had a very solidly Republican-led legislature for years too, which like I'm not sure if you're familiar with the government, but it's like slightly different than most other states, where it's like the state legislature. It's like this weird, like small number of people decide everything, which is how they were able to have 4 Republicans overturn like the Democratic stay-at-home orders this year, and mask mandate and everything else. Like it's a very weird state with very strange politics, which is bizarre because it used to stand for like, it was like, used to be one of the most progressive states in the US, like forward Wisconsin, like a lot of, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. But yeah, it's really disappointing to see what Wisconsin is like right now.
Interesting.
Versus Alaska, which is where I was born, and there's just like 8 people that live there, and they are very, very Republican.
Hey,
But same thing there.
hey, in Minnesota, Biden's winning by 30% right now.
Oh, I'm
So
shook.
we're good.
Minnesota, it seems that it's pretty strong. It's leaning Democrat pretty strongly. 65.
No, the Twin Cities lean Democrat, but much of outstate Minnesota is rural and conservative.
Very, yeah.
It's your typical Midwest corn farmers. I think Minnesota's pretty close. It's 10% reporting it, so it's hard to put that number.
I mean, Minnesota was like definitely a battle, like not as much as Wisconsin, which is literally always a battleground every election. But this year, Minnesota was a lot more up for grabs, which is why Trump had so many super spreader events here.
Kansas, Ohio, and North Carolina are getting really tight.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas.
Ohio is getting terrifyingly tight because that's.
If you guys look at the map in 2000 in Obama's race during when he like got in Minnesota and won it, he won a lot of those like farm areas, which was like really surprising, like Windham and all these small counties. He won that, and somehow then they lost a lot of that game, you know. And
welcome to the panel, TK.
Yeah, you look like very much the radical philosopher there.
TK.
Yes, TK is looking the part.
Yeah.
Crazy radical philosophical political commentator.
What do you guys think is like going to get decided if it gets decided by the courts? It's so close right now. It could very well be decided by the courts. Each side is going to claim, okay, some egregious.
I actually don't expect that the results from this are going to be official for some long time, because you can guarantee there will be court cases no matter what the results are that will need to be resolved.
Those ones, Craig. Like say, for example, Ohio is close, Texas is running very close, Florida, they can say whatever they want to say, but if it does come to the court, I think the Republicans have an advantage, you know.
Okay, just a random thing I've noticed as I've been zooming into the states. There's a place in our county in Illinois where yellow is leading. Is that independent?
Who? I'm not sure actually. What's the name?
It doesn't really specify. It's just like a yellow color.
Yeah.
West.
There's
maybe it's
a county, whatever county Peoria.
Maybe Kanye West. Apparently, Kanye West is running for president. Who knows?
Did anyone watch it?
Jesus. Okay, good.
Yeah, Kanye West was one of the top 5 at one point. It looked like he fell off, and Brian Carroll took his place.
Yeah.
So we have the panel keeps growing. Now Emily's joining us.
Hello.
Hi, Emily.
Hey.
How's it going?
Coronavirus survivor. one of our heroes and models.
Indeed.
How are you doing, Emily? I haven't talked to you since, so
yeah, it's been a while. I'm doing good.
Tell us a little bit about the experience, because you got to actually fight the fight, you know. So
having COVID, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it was terrifying. Yeah, I was pretty sick there for a while. It was pretty scary. So
how sick?
Well, I wasn't in the hospital, but my oxygen levels were pretty low. So yeah, it was just, breathing was pretty difficult in general, just pretty scary.
Did you go to the hospital at all? to know?
I try to. And actually, the oxygen levels I had, now they admit you into the hospital, but then like they didn't think it was as widespread as it was, so they didn't admit me. But I survived. So
I mean, what do you need to do in order for it to go away? Just basically just survive, and it goes away by itself. How does
yeah, I mean, there's things you can do to help it go away, like vitamin D and electrolytes and stuff like that. But yeah, eventually the worst part of it goes away. So.
Do you still feel anything now?
Yeah, I have some lingering issues, I would say, stuff, but I'm getting better each month. So yeah.
Okay. I hope
what have you guys been talking about? What?
I hope you keep getting better.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
We're happy that you're alive. Very happy.
Thank you. I am too.
We're just talking about the elections and what's going on today.
Whoa, TK, your hair.
TK has gone completely radical in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
I got Strebek's beard.
Cornel West.
That's the true Einstein look over there.
Yeah.
People have had some life-changing events happen to them.
Yeah, and I just grew my hair. Yeah.
I like it.
TK,
Bruno?
What happened? What happened in your life, TK, that you became this hermit?
You got to grow your beard longer to be a hermit, though, right? You got to look like one of those Indian Gurujis.
If you put me and TK together, you get one full hermit.
It's kind of hard to grow it out, but I'm gonna grow it out. I just work from home, so it's kind of, I never grew my hair out, so I was like, why not?
Good for you.
I did it. Yeah, basically it.
I didn't know your hair would get that curly.
Yeah,
Are you feeling more spiritual?
Absolutely. Natural, obviously. It's like it happens automatically. The longer my hair grows, I feel more spiritual, more with the earth,
What does the earth tell you about today's election?
It's gonna be entertaining. Very entertaining.
It's very entertaining. That's good.
It'll be one of the most entertaining elections.
That's not the choice of words I would have used. Okay.
Greg is
not entertained?
leaning towards anxiety.
Am I not entertained?
Would you qualify this as good entertainment?
Yeah, sure. It's the grand finale. That's what I've been telling everybody.
Yeah, but we don't know if it's the season
Grand
finale.
finale to what, though, is
That's a
I
good
guess
question.
the question. To American democracy? To
Yeah, are we gonna wake up to democracy tomorrow?
To the end of the world? That's a good enough one.
Maybe there's some
Someone's gonna get
suspense
mad
involved.
and push the nuke
I
button.
think the asteroid already went by, so we're good.
But yeah, but it was only a refrigerator-sized one, so it wasn't like it was actually gonna do anything unless it landed squarely on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Got it.
yes, the asteroid missed already. So
Too bad. You're still getting a raise.
What are
no,
people's
it's just as
predictions?
well.
Oh no, Ohio's flipped. Trump's in the lead now.
Oh no.
So
What are the
Trump is ahead
predictions?
in Ohio. Wow.
I think at the end of the day today, Trump will be winning because not enough of the mail-in votes will have been counted.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Is that right for Florida?
Is that right for Florida? I don't know. I'm curious how quickly they count the mail-in votes.
It's a very slow process, especially right now because there's so few volunteers.
Yeah, remember what happened with Gore? Anybody remember Gore v. Bush?
Oh yeah, I remember that very well. Very well. I was sick in a hotel room at Disney World in Orlando while they were doing that count. So rather than going out in the parks, I sat and I watched all the stuff about the election.
That didn't make you feel any better.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Oh, I hear a race getting called. Wait, how are Maryland and Virginia and Rhode Island called for Joe Biden, but all the votes aren't in yet, and Donald Trump is technically in the lead by 10%?
Oh, it always works like that.
Really?
Yep. It's to some degree statistics, and at some degree that's how news media does shit. So it's.
Do they look at like the rate of change of the votes coming in, or?
Yeah, probably.
Makes
Something
no
like
sense.
Well,
Well, there's, like,
it's
who's the-
extrapolating from a relatively small but considered adequate sample size, and
Well, let's say that Donald Trump wins tonight.
Hmm.
What does that say about the United States? What conclusions would be able to draw from that?
Time to leave.
Oh yeah, where's everyone going?
And the world will be shaking their head, you know.
well, here's the thing though. If you want to go someplace, you have to find a country that will take us in, right? Because there aren't too many places that are real friendly, and letting the COVID
Disease
champion
have-
of the world letting us in.
Yeah, you just
So,
get tested 3 days before you leave.
Nope. It's not good enough for some places.
How do you guys think? Here's a question: how do you guys think Obama won so many of these small cities in Minnesota? If you guys look at that link that I sent you, and just go through Obama winning in 2008, and then again in 2012, you see how much he won, and then 2016, Hillary lost a lot of that.
People weren't radicalized yet.
Okay.
That's the difference.
You read.
Well,
Tea
some
Party-
of that is like labor union, working class. So like the unions did a lot in the Obama election to get them out, but they didn't in the Hillary election,
Yeah. Okay.
like Austin and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that some of the labor unions have slowly switched sides.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Here's the thing, like Obama back then, the Tea Party was just becoming a thing,
That's true.
and the whole radicalization hadn't happened yet. Not enough social media.
Well, what are the reasons behind that radicalization, and when did that start?
I mean, the Tea Party was the start of it, but I mean, clearly social media is the key factor.
You think social media is the biggest factor why people have become more radicalized?
I mean, it didn't start with social media, but social
It
media
definitely
quickly
helps with the
accelerated
proliferation
it.
of extreme ideas.
Right? I mean, you started with, there are pockets of that radicalization, and that radicalization can be more quickly spread, and people can group around that radicalization quicker. I mean, basically, it's like there's like a Village Idiot example where
White House. Oh, sorry.
you know what I'm talking about? It's like if there's a village idiot, right? And he's the only village idiot, you're not going to have a problem. But when that village idiot can now communicate with all the other village idiots and spread their village idiot ideas, slowly more and more people group up and start believing the village idiot ideas. And then you can accelerate that over time and slowly convert more and more people.
I think the village idiot idea might be an extreme, but like, what if the village idiot idea is a very mainstream idea, which could be something like abortion rights, And then you have a flux of news and articles and, dissemination of information, very radicalized information around this particular topic, okay, abortions. And then suddenly you find that, like, okay, you have extreme left and right, views, and those start percolating up,
I mean,
Well,
people
one-
can now spend their whole day just consuming completely fake news.
One should remember that 50 years ago, places like Iran and Lebanon were very much Western-oriented Arab states, and then Islamic radicalization kicked in about 40 years ago, and, well, see what happened. Well, here only it seems to be right-wing Christian radicalization, but the results could turn out to be the same.
It could be, yeah.
And then there's the component of the foreign powers just generally accelerating that same radical propaganda, right? I mean, we're probably viewing right now in our day and age the best propaganda campaign that has ever happened. Period, in the era of human history.
No doubt. I mean, Putin and Jin are both laughing their asses off over this whole thing because they're watching the West crumble to pieces, and that's what they've wanted for their entire reign.
Well, I think we have another hermit on our hands. Andrew, man, what happened to you? You haven't cut your hair this whole time? You gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
What was that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, hair. Lots. Have not cut it yet.
Nice. Going with the low or TK style.
I'm the club, man. Long hair. I just need to know how to like comb it and do other stuff to it, but.
Oh no, it looks. You both look great.
Thank you.
So have you guys left the house like in the
Bessie
past
looks
5 months?
great too.
I go to the grocery store.
I went to the gym. That's basically it.
Just gym. Fair enough.
So Andy, you just joined us, man. We missed you. What do you think about the elections, man? Are you excited? Anxious?
Anxious.
Who's gonna win?
It seems concerning.
I would agree with that. I was expecting Biden to win pretty comfortably, to be honest with you.
Oh no.
It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
I think
That wouldn't be fun, would it be, Bruno? Come on.
I'm sorry?
So that wouldn't be fun, would it be?
Okay.
You gotta have some level of tension.
From the entertainment aspect of it, no.
I felt the opposite. I
Because
thought
you expect Biden to win comfortably because you expect Trump would have lost a lot of supporters during his presidency.
Yes, but mostly because of the polls, because the polls were saying on CNN and CBS and ABC and most networks, they were giving Biden a pretty strong lead. It was like 7-8%, pretty consistently. So I mean that's
Trump's
a strong lead.
a lot of Trump supporters are silent. You don't really know about them.
Just like you, Shane, you show up out of nowhere.
I mean, I don't really call myself.
We still can't see you.
Oh, you won't. It's very dark in here.
Pennsylvania.
Are you in a cave? Where are you?
You could say that. No, I'm home. It's just the lighting sucks.
Ah, there we go.
Oh yeah.
Nice silhouette though.
What is that place, man? It looks like you're in like a Mars cave.
No, it's just my house. I don't have a light on this side, so looks like a horror movie. Apologies.
It's okay. It makes for interesting viewing.
We got a vampire on our hands.
Yeah.
And I think Fabio just joined us. This is turning into a pretty good group. I mean, pretty big group, just like a proper philosophy club meetup. I can see that people are craving the social interaction.
Election night brings out all the crazies, Bruno.
I think we've had enough time now. We've had enough time that when we start having conversations again, people are going to be slightly crazy. They're going to say things that they wouldn't have said before. Because 5 months at home changes people, I guess. And it's not like we weren't crazy to start with. So
that would keep things interesting, at least. If you guys look at 270 to win, the link that I put in the chat, there's kind of a plausible prediction there for how Biden might win it. Just comparing it to what
I was looking at that.
Google is showing.
We'll look at it.
I mean, there's some.
He's not going to get Wisconsin.
Yeah, but if you take away Wisconsin and Michigan, it still tallies up for Biden.
This is interesting. So you can make your own prediction.
Yeah.
But so when you win a state, do you win like all the delegates? Is that how it works?
Depends on the state.
In
Oh, it
most,
depends on the state.
Yep. They're different.
So in some states it's proportional, but in other states is winner takes all.
Mhm.
Really?
I know
But
that.
when Hillary when
That's
Hillary lost, there wasn't a state that didn't give all their electoral votes to Trump. Do you remember?
I think it's winner takes all, but I could be wrong.
Not true in all
Varies
states.
from state to
Nebraska is
state.
an exception, I believe.
Nebraska.
yeah,
Yep.
I
Nebraska
think it's a mix.
So basically, like kind of insignificant states.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska only has 5 electoral votes, so I mean, there's a
Do you guys remember where you were last year? Or not last year, last election, like 4 years ago?
Yeah, I remember I was in a computer lab at the U, and I remember looking at the computers ahead of me, and almost everyone was watching the election results come in.
I think I was working.
I was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and my landlord and I were just laughing. Trump won. Found it so funny at that time. It's hilarious. He won. We're just laughing, just having a good time. It's just like, this is hilarious. This man won.
I was crying, and I don't cry like very easily.
I cried too.
I think I was just so shocked that we would have elected someone like that. At the time, I think I was just like, I don't know. Yeah.
I was misled by that New York Times
What
needle.
happened this year, Allison?
What?
It could still happen again, you know.
I know. I think just he was so sexist in my mind. So to think I don't know. I guess I was really surprised after hearing everything he had said about women that
there's a lot of women that would give up their right to vote to make sure that Trump would win. Do you know that?
I mean, yeah, now it makes a lot more sense, obviously, now that we've had like 4 years to think about it and kind of look back. And I mean, even like learning more about kind of how people think and process, and I don't know. Anyway, just it's interesting how my mind was in a different place back then. But I was in law school, and I remember having an exam that was due at midnight that night. And it was like some like commercial sales law course or something like that. And I was just so distracted the entire night watching the polls come in. And it was just, I didn't end up handing in that exam. And I came to the professor the next day and said, please let me turn this in like a day late. And he was like, yes, I understand.
Yeah, why would he have an exam due that night?
He
Good
wasn't
question.
thinking.
It's starting to look like Trump's gonna win.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
if
so too.
people are looking, but
I really think he's gonna win.
That's my prediction. It was my prediction in 2016. And
Was
it's
it
my
really?
prediction this time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gonna win too.
They were like, "No way, David, you're crazy," and I was like, "I just think he's gonna win," and then he did. But I don't know. This time it's a toss up, at least I think. So.
But I mean, incumbents, I mean, it's pretty, I mean, they often win, right? So, I mean, this time it wouldn't be like as shocking to me as it was, I think, in 2016.
Yeah.
Where I think I was just shocked to the point of like emotions, which is like, again, not really my style to like cry over an election. But it, for some reason, hit.
But like, here's the thing. My problem is that, like, 4 years ago, Trump winning made more sense. 4 years later, with such high turnout, Trump still winning basically means that the majority of the U.S. is racist.
Yeah, I mean, we have some.
I hate to break it to you, but that'd be true.
I mean,
I mean, right? Like that's the unfortunate reality, right? If Trump wins this election, it basically means like even with the full turnout, like Democrats aren't going to win with full electoral turnout.
So even if he doesn't win, I don't think that's going to actually change the demographics of the United States. I mean, this election is only the beginning of a huge amount of problems that we have to solve.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but it's a question of who's in the majority, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, like right now, the demographic shift, like the white population is quite old, and that's what's responsible for Trump winning the first time. And if he wins again, that'll be what's responsible. And as they pass away, the younger generation is much less white and much less like American, more immigrants and more Mexicans. So that's going to be a huge demographic shift.
The only problem is there are some environmental ticking clocks going on that I don't know that we're going to have an opportunity to wait for people my age and older to, kiss the big one goodbye here.
So this race looks like it's going to come down to Arizona and North Carolina.
Arizona and what?
North Carolina.
Well, they're close. But I think if the Dems lose, then like they really need to like do a hard think, man, in terms of visualizing what kind of candidates they want to bring, you know.
Well, honestly, they just got to wait another 4 years.
Strong candidates. I don't know.
If they wait
another 4 years, yeah.
It's just going to be a demographic shift that Trump would not be able to win in 4 years. He wouldn't be able to win like anything beyond 4 years and out. So I don't know if you guys are worried about like a reactionary right-wing guy winning. I don't think it's going to happen again, to be honest.
What if he stops immigration?
Well, honestly, they just got to wait another 4 years. We got a little echo.
Wait, who's talking?
It's just going to be a demographic shift. Trump.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I got some technical problems.
Are you guys looking at like election math or like what's making you?
So basically what I'm using is Bloomberg's website, and they're tracking results as it's coming in and what percentage here. I linked it up top. Basically, it shows every single state, how much of the votes come in, and then basically who's winning by how much percentage. And it's basically updates real time, and it shows all the states in order, at least on my end. And a lot of these states, it's looking like even Pennsylvania, Trump's leading in Pennsylvania now.
25% reporting in Pennsylvania. I don't know if, hard to say for sure yet. He's definitely got Florida, I'd say.
Man, it's a good thing I put it live on YouTube because my PC died, so the recording would have been screwed.
Yeah, Pennsylvania's flipped. Michigan, like there's states that Trump should be winning that he's not winning right now. Even Pennsylvania, he's from Pennsylvania.
Ohio's flipped. Yeah.
Wait, like what states?
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, I believe Maine too. He's supposed to do well in Maine, and he's losing Maine right now.
I have what I see here. He is winning in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Maine. Are we looking at different things?
Are you talking about Trump?
Give the percent reporting if you post a state result or something.
Wait, were you saying Biden is not winning states he should be winning?
Yeah, Biden's not leading in states he should be leading in.
Oh, I thought you said Trump.
Like, let's look at, if I look at Pennsylvania, I mean, okay, only 25 to 27% of the votes are in. Trump right now is at 49.8% and Biden's at 47.1%, right? So it's a 2% lead so far in Pennsylvania.
What's with all numbers?
Is this one of you did point out because of the absentee balance initially it might look skewed toward Trump?
Yeah, I pointed that out. so that's where
So
there might be benefit. I mean, it's hard to tell which. I mean, it's interesting because in some states, the absentee ballots are the ones that are counted right away, and those start populating right away. There's other states where there's some delays in the time from the initial ballots to the actual absentee ballots being counted. So I wish there was an easy way to tell state by state, where we're at truly.
Yeah.
But the other thing to
Okay,
go
so
by
yeah, the
is
absentee ballots could push it one way or the other.
Yeah, that's true.
What, we're like not even at 50% counted.
When is the speaking of demographics, when is the census going to be like done? Not done, but like reported. I'm kind of curious about if there were any demographic shifts. Does anybody know?
Don't know.
I think they're supposed to, by law, report it in December. I don't know if we get any of those results at that point. But I also know that they cut the count short.
Man, the betting websites have completely flipped. They were showing that Trump was going to win, but they were saying 65% odds for Biden. Now they're showing over 70% odds for Trump.
Who's saying this?
There's betting websites
Okay.
that adjust odds so you can keep betting, but they change their odds based off of whatever info they have real time.
What is the what's the stock market doing?
Biden win.
Stock market?
Yeah, like you said,
It would be closed, wouldn't it?
Stock market's closed right now. So stock market is actually really interesting. So Thursday, Friday, the stock market basically shot down by I think around 9%. I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday it came back up a tiny. No, not Friday. Monday, yeah. Yesterday and today it came back up quite a bit. So yesterday it was up about 1 to 2%, and then today it shot up even more. It was up, 4 or 5% today.
How will the presidential election affect the stock market?
So
Wouldn't necessarily impact it in a massive way. I would expect.
I mean, it has an impact from a confidence and economy perspective, right? I mean, and that's the thing. It's really hard to tell. It could go either way, but yeah, I think anything causing more and more chaos would probably lean the stock market away from performing well.
Conversation with an insurance agent a couple of weeks ago, and he had mentioned that historically speaking, the past couple of elections had a nominal effect on the actual stock market, but his term was mid to long term, like a year to like 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
range.
honestly, the recent events haven't had too much of an impact on the stock market. But then again, you have to keep in mind that basically the federal government, at least the Federal Reserve, has been giving free loans to all the banks, essentially free loans, right? The interest rates have dropped for that reason.
Okay, so
I mean, right.
what do you guys think we can expect if Biden wins tonight? Do you think it's going to change things a lot?
You'll have armed militia in the streets.
No, I mean, if Biden wins, I think you will have more focus on tackling the virus. I think there'll be a national plan for the virus. But if Trump wins, it's going to be status quo.
So you think
Did you say if Trump wins? Did you
if-
say if Trump wins, it's going to be status quo?
It'll be status quo, and the best bet you'll have is, okay, if we got a good vaccine.
I've heard some predictions that Trump could get worse second term.
Oh, most likely. I mean, heck, he's not going to face anything for a 4-year period.
I think there's a lot of, there've been articles implying there's a lot of people in the government who've been trying to stick it out for 4 years with the hopes that he'd get replaced, and a bunch of them are just going to mass exit And so then they're going to get replaced by, sycophants.
It's a good thing there's a constitutional amendment that limits the term of presidency to 2 terms.
Yeah.
I think Don Jr. is probably gonna run. That'd be odd.
Please.
Yeah.
That would be something.
Not Ivanka? Come on.
That's a real
I will
possibility.
switch from wine to vodka then, for sure.
And it got real quiet, guys. What happened?
So
People seem very
right
concerned.
now Biden is winning, but do you think Trump's gonna win because he's not winning in states?
Yeah, the problem is it's not that Biden's winning right now. I mean, yes, Biden's winning in terms of electoral.
Okay, let's actually do our predictions then, because we're at a good time now. So predictions for the end of the election. Who do you think is gonna win?
Right, Bruno. We should break it
count
up.
the votes.
We should break it into 2 predictions. That's
Okay.
My suggestion. I say at end of night who's winning and who wins overall.
Okay, sure. End of night and overall. Okay, and we can count the votes. Okay, so we'll go in order. Rupinder, what do you think?
Man, I think it's going to be hung, and I think, oh gosh, I think I have a slight leaning that Trump is going to have a slight edge now. Yeah.
End of the night or overall?
No, end of the night is going to be a slight edge for Trump. Yeah.
What about at the end?
I think the courts are going to get involved.
The courts are going to get involved, and then who?
That's gonna get dicey real quick.
And who?
I think it's
Okay,
gonna
and who do you think is going to win with the courts?
I would think Trump will win if it's
Trump. Okay, so what about you, Jesse?
Generally, I think it's kind of pointless to try to predict it right now, but just for the fun of it. Yeah, I mean, based on all the the polls and the maps that I'm looking at, I would say eventually Biden might win it, but by the end of tonight, it might be leaning Trump.
Okay, interesting. What about you, Shoik?
Going Trump tonight, Biden long term.
Okay. What about you, Allison?
Okay, so you do think Biden will win the presidency overall?
Yep.
Okay.
Allison, what do you think?
What are we doing? Taking bets here?
Yeah.
We get this YouTube, this YouTube.
Yeah,
free
I'm running
going
the books
demonetized.
here. I'm running the books. Yeah.
What's
put some
on
money on
this? We need to put something on this, guys.
Well,
Come on, but wait, I thought you were trying to do this YouTube thing. I think it's against YouTube's policy to have gambling. It'll get you.
Okay. Well, I don't think YouTube is watching. But, yeah, we're just. Well, I'm gonna say end of the night. I'm gonna be optimistic. Biden, both end of the night and overall. I still think Biden's gonna win it. What about you, Allison?
I don't know. I don't like being wrong, and I don't think. I don't like the fact right now that Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Maine, as Shobik pointed out, didn't go the way that was expected. Actually, Wisconsin we knew, right?
Yeah, I expected Wisconsin, but Michigan's a problem.
Where is Michigan right now? I'm not seeing that. Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
Michigan is where it usually is.
Trump's winning right now by 13%.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that.
Maine, Biden's down by 9%.
Biden is down?
Pennsylvania, Biden is down by 6%.
There you go.
So what do you think, Allison? You're thinking Trump now, end of the night?
I don't love this, but I don't want to think that way.
Okay, I have the same disclaimer.
You don't want to think that way?
Shobik, I love how you just had like a special guest star.
Okay. I think we're
Elson, I love how you're not answering the question at all.
Yeah, Allison is like non-committal. Okay.
We're in the middle of a debate. You got to dodge the question.
This is not a debate.
Your mom wants to participate, Joey.
My mom's popping in.
If she
What about
wants to
you,
give her
Andy?
opinion, bring her in and
Oh,
ask her who she
Ma,
thinks will
Ma.
win.
Ma, you gotta come give it a.
What do you think, Andy?
I don't have any
I
opinion.
think it's Trump at the end of the night in terms of
Hi.
votes that have been
Who do you
counted.
think will win?
Yeah. So you have to make two things.
Trump
Who's
end of the night.
night.
Biden will win at
Who's
the
winning
end, though.
overall.
Biden will.
Biden is winning overall.
Biden's winning overall.
Okay, Biden winning.
That is my wish.
That is my wish too.
Yeah, we're being optimistic.
I don't want to cry again tonight.
I know.
That is a legitimate wish. Yeah.
I'm going to really go and bury my head in the sand or some snow.
We don't. I was gonna say we don't have sand here in Minnesota, unfortunately. So it's all snow.
I'm going to go sit in the jungle just close to my house.
It's a good idea.
I don't know.
It's okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
How can it do it every time?
TK, what do you think? Who wins? End of the night and overall?
I think as a community we stand strong, but I think even if whatever the results matter.
I don't know. I think Trump does have a chance here since it seems like he is. There's that whole thing about how Biden might win Florida and even Texas. A lot of people are excited about that, but it seems like, I always thought that was like really hopeful. So I think, it is a toss up, but I wouldn't be surprised if Trump won. That's what I'm trying to say. That wouldn't really surprise me.
End of the night overall as well?
Overall as well, it wouldn't really surprise.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not like I support that, right? That's maybe I should have done what Allison did and been like, I don't know. But no, it's not like that. That's what I
Allison doesn't want to accept the truth, maybe? No, I don't think that's even going to be the truth, hopefully. But
yeah, it's not like it's just my prediction based on like my thought process. That doesn't mean I really support this outcome. It's just that's what I think. These polls have been wrong, so I could see this going this way, and so yeah.
okay. What are your thoughts, Craig?
On the whole, my thoughts are what my wishful thinking may or may not be doesn't really matter a rip. So I'm content to sit and wait and watch this play itself out.
You're also non-committal. Boy, man, it's really hard to get like a yes or no answer from a philosophy group.
Like I said, everybody's been watching
driving
these
crazy.
Donald Trump Biden debates, and when you watch these debates, you learn how to.
I haven't watched a second of any of them.
So for the Pennsylvania mail votes, it looks like they received 350,000. They've only tallied 76,000 of those tonight, and the other 274,000 won't get tallied till tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be a long month.
So
Long 4 years is what I think.
So do you think these results are surprising? Is this more or less what we were expecting, or is Trump overperforming?
I was expecting Biden winning and Senate winning and House winning all damn.
Yeah, this is if you go based off of the historical data, this is a surprise for sure.
What do you mean by that?
So if we look at a combination of all the polling data combined with betting odds, et cetera, everybody had a very substantial margin. So like if you look, there's usually an error bar, right, for every single poll. In a huge amount of these states, Biden was winning beyond the margin of error. And yet he is currently losing. So whereas historically Clinton was, yes, she was winning in a lot of these states on the polls, but she wasn't beyond the margin of error.
So the margin of error is what, 5%?
It depends on the poll, but usually around 5% is the standard. Yeah.
And what states was he winning beyond the margin of error? Wisconsin, Michigan?
I mean, easy ones would be Michigan and Pennsylvania.
Okay. And Donald Trump is leading on both.
Yep, exactly. Right. So
Wow.
so Pennsylvania was like is the battle like it should. Okay, so the reality is Joe Biden's from Pennsylvania, right? So
Right.
the fact that he's losing Pennsylvania.
Only 32% reporting on Pennsylvania, though.
That is
At least
true, right? I
Probably.
think that's something important to call out, right? Like, yes, this is still early
Yeah.
in a lot of these states.
far from called.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
for comparison's sake, at this time 4 years ago, how like what percent were in? Because like a lot of the states have a minority of the votes recorded.
I mean, so far it looks like
Hi, Emily.
let's see, because there is a map. The states it looks like Joe Biden. So okay, so here's the states that look like they're turning. Maine has turned from a Clinton state into what looks like it's going to be a Trump state right now. Obviously, Maine hasn't been called, but Trump is leading in Maine right now. And then but that's the only state that's been flipped towards Trump. But the issue is that Trump won in 2016, obviously. So the states it looks like Biden is flipping right now are Montana, Iowa, and Arizona. But I don't think just flipping those states will be enough, is the problem.
This is making me stressed. I feel like I need to like tune in a little.
Time to break out a glass of wine is the time.
Yeah, man.
I know.
Water.
Yeah,
My glass of wine.
I'm gonna
Just
get
for extra consideration, there is a predictor named Amelia who called the past 4 Super Bowls and then also the last presidential election correctly.
What does
And,
the fortune teller say?
Yeah,
This is at what
Amelia-
point we're at.
Amelia picked Trump, but Amelia is also a flying squirrel. So
What?
So what does the squirrel say?
Yeah,
the squirrel picks Trump.
Oh, Amelia's a squirrel.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys,
yeah.
the fate of our country has been decided by a squirrel, and
Squirrel.
she says Trump.
Okay.
I'm getting more and more.
I don't know how does she
What do you mean a
communicate this?
squirrel?
He went backyard from now on.
She picked a pumpkin seed that had Trump's initial on it. So
You can see.
there you go.
Well then,
Wait, you're making me confused. What do you mean Amelia's a squirrel?
There's a flying squirrel named Amelia that some reporter at some news website owns, and that's how they predicted the election.
and this
Amelia's
is
apparently
what
famous.
America has come to.
I'll be biased against squirrels now, you know.
How is the squirrel making calls?
Here, I'm just gonna put this in the
The
chat.
squirrel talk actually, it speaks English, and it just picks out people. So that's kind of how it does. Do you guys know Alan Lynchman?
No. What
He
is it?
predicted. He has a model.
Is he a squirrel?
That would be. I agree. I agree. Well, more entertaining, but he's not. But he picked predict the 2016 election with his model or something, and he picked 2020 for Biden. But seems like it's not going to go that way. So it's interesting to see a lot of these models and theories kind of fail. It's like in the stock market game where a lot of these people bring different ideas to the market, and all that really wins is like an S&P, like the top company or something. And like everyone has these different theories on what works, but when it's stressed or put to the test, it doesn't really win sometimes. But yeah.
What do people think of 538's model?
Oh, what's that?
Nate Silver?
Nate Silver's website gave it 90 to 10 odds in favor of Biden, and they factored in a bunch of different polls and like margins of error and like variables for economy and incumbency, and they're very heavily favoring Biden for what that's worth.
It's kind of weird because you got like 4 years ago, all of the main news outlets were predicting a landslide, Hillary Clinton, chances of Trump, single digits at best. And they're doing the same thing again, but it's like a very similar scenario. It seems like either they're not updating their models or we just can't come up with models that are accurately predicting this, at least with the case of Trump. Maybe he's just kind of a oddball. He's a hard to create a model for, but I don't know.
The polling
Barker
margin.
Yates model, they said that Trump won within a margin of error, according to Nate Silver. So
yeah.
But it's also because like I think people like who want to vote for Trump will not like openly say it because he is a racist. Everyone knows it, and so they don't want to like come out often. And so when pollers call, like there's that factor, you know. And I think that's a factor which I think Trafalgar Square probably caught it the best last election, where they correctly pronounced that Trump is going to win. And then they said the same thing again in 2020, which is against the 99% of the polls done, which is really interesting, you know.
It's weird. I don't feel that anxious, but I'm like a little shaky, so I don't know if it's some kind of visceral effect. Or maybe I just haven't been eating enough.
Because of the election?
Or like I only feel a little anxious, but I'm a little shaky, so
Caroline, go have a squirrel.
Go have some walnuts.
yeah, I don't know if it's from anxiety or I might have just not been eating enough.
That would do it. So guys, I guess I better probably cut off and head to bed and wake up in the morning and decide whether I need to take up drinking again tomorrow.
Look, Craig. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Have a good
It's
night.
so early, Craig.
What's that? Not for me.
Good night.
Okay, so Craig, if you need to take up drinking tomorrow, let's do a drunk version of this podcast tomorrow.
Well, see, I know that over at the Total Wine here, I can get the kind of mead that I like, which is similar to the kind they serve at the Renaissance Fair.
Okay, you should
So
definitely
it
take
probably-
up drinking
but
again
it's not
because
cheap.
that'll be fun.
I'll get a couple bottles from that.
Okay, so the question is, does Trump need to win in order for you to take up drinking again?
And I'm going to leave that as a philosophical mystery for you to ponder, Bruno.
Okay, because if that's the case, I might have a reason to cheer for Trump now, which is disturbing, but
No, because if I take up drinking again, that's going to screw my blood sugar all to hell and I'll probably die earlier. So no, I wouldn't recommend rooting in that favor.
I mean, yeah, sometimes a merry but short life is better than a long but sad life,
Yeah.
That's another philosophical question to ponder.
Indeed. All right.
All right. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this. Do it again, please.
We're gonna start, doing this pretty regularly from now on, but we're not gonna have elections to comment on.
Well, that's all right. There are plenty other things in the universe that are worth commenting on.
Yes, we'll talk about other things. We'll talk about the elections first, and then we'll talk about other things. We might be talking about 4 more years of Trump first.
Yeah, you really want me to start drinking, man. I can just
Or Joe Biden and whatever comes next, which we don't know. So
well, whatever comes next will be Kamala Harris when Biden kicks off in about a year and a half. But
okay, yeah.
Would be my guess. But okay. All right. Good night.
Bye-bye, Craig. Thank you.
Bye. Yep.
So not Trump related or anything, but at least my district, Ilhan Omar is confirmed winner in Minnesota.
She was the favorite, right?
Yeah, the Republican, I don't know that he was that strong, but
Oh yeah, it can be easy to forget about those elections.
What do you guys think about her?
I don't know that much about her. She's my representative. Probably not a huge fan. I think she's probably too young, but I don't have a huge opinion.
There was a 25-year-old who just won a House seat somewhere. I don't remember what state it was.
Yeah, I remember me when I was 25, and God, I can't imagine myself like leading anything at all, let alone like cleaning my own house.
Man,
But yeah,
I'm looking at the map here, and there's a lot of red still.
I mean, the big states are going to come later, but I don't know. I mean, does anybody have any idea like how the once the blue states start reporting what the number is going to be for Biden?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like in electoral vote terms?
Yeah, like so when California reports, what else is there? What else is blue? I don't know. New Mexico?
California, Washington, Oregon. I don't know about Oregon. I don't remember. Idaho is red.
I honestly, I don't understand, man. Like, why would people vote for Trump in such like huge numbers? I mean, let's try to dissect this. I mean, why are people still voting for Trump after all the shit that's been going on? I mean, maybe there are good reasons. I'm just not seeing them.
I think that's a really good question, but you had to really look in it in a really deep way, because he is winning different groups, even different minority groups. He's taking away from Biden. Now, how is he doing that? So those are the questions, as a philosophy committee, we had to look at. He has lost some of the white votes from what 538 said, but he is winning other groups. And on social media, it's kind of interesting to see like people like rappers and all these folks who are aligning themselves with Trump. Maybe like we were talking about masculinity one time last week, Chad. Maybe it is something to do with that.
One thing I was thinking was that like what Trump has done so effectively, which is a fact, right, is that like he has spread disinformation about COVID, where he has marginalized it, right? And I can see that like also within my social circle, like people are so fanatical about it. Like one group which is concerned and doesn't want to socialize, doesn't want to like hug, doesn't want to like go anywhere, and the other group says fuck that, and I think like when you look into that alone can be a very strong variable in this election.
Well, I think a lot of it too, I mean, the same thing happened in 2016 where the left was really surprised, like in shock almost. Most of my family included, as to why Trump won. And I think what it comes down to is who do you trust? And right now the left and the right are the media that they listen to, they're in completely different realities. Like
completely different. But again, that's also very Trump driven, where he's like attacked the media. So now but don't have any benchmark or any factual base to relate to facts. So what happens is like I watched this one YouTube video and here's my opinion, and then you watched another YouTube video about another guy saying something and there's his opinion, and then there's this like clash happening, so nobody's sure about facts anymore, which is really frightening.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to, and no one can agree on facts anymore, and everyone's in their own ecosystem of news and information. And when someone is like, it's almost like we're radically different now as far as what we perceive as real. And so when people are surprised that someone would vote for Trump, it's like, well, you're probably not watching Fox News. You're probably not watching Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, those sorts of right-wing guys. And then when you talk to right-wing guys, like I've got some pretty right-wing neighbors, and I talk to them, and they're like, they're all right people, but they're in a totally different reality than like when I go to work and I talk to my boss, who is the director of software. Like he it's just the sources of information that people get in the U.S. are totally different, and we've become more and more isolated because of it. And so I don't think it's at all surprising that Trump is doing quite well right now. I wasn't surprised when he won 4 years ago, but it just depends on what we listen to. Like, what kind of news are we listening to? What are we consuming? And realize there's people that are totally different than us out there.
Right. I totally think so. I think that's a very absolute statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, their input, what they're receiving from the world is basically someone who's voting for Trump is very different. You're saying from the input that someone who's, you know, like myself, for example, it's not that I'm, you know, leaning Democrat. It's just I'm actually puzzled at why people would vote for Trump in those numbers, right? But maybe what you're saying is that I'm getting a very different input.
Yeah, it could be. I don't really know what you listen to or whatnot, but yeah, it's
Well, I would say I just, you know, I read, you know, newspapers online like The Guardian, you know, listen to CNN or whatever, CBS, whatever I have on, except for Fox News. So maybe that's the problem. And, you know, listen to Colbert or, you know, but that's not what I would call news, but still, I guess that informs your opinion.
Yeah. I mean, the more like right-wing channels include Fox News, then there's Breitbart. That's like on the right, like Breitbart is kind of like a Huffington Post / Salon, you know, equivalent or something like that.
Is Breitbart a newspaper?
Probably not Post, but
a TV channel.
What's that?
Is Breitbart a newspaper or a TV channel, a website?
Oh, I don't know. I don't listen to them at all, actually. I think they have a website, but a lot of Trump supporters really like Breitbart. So I don't know. Check it out.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of had to take a call, but if this helps, I've spoken to a couple people who have voted for Trump, and based on their interpretation of why he's a better candidate, it pretty much comes down to handling the economy. It's a handful of people, like 4, 3, whatever, but they all said basically the same thing. They believe that Trump has a better hold on the numbers regarding how to improve the economy, reduce the debt rate, whereas Biden, his policies are way out there. They're not confident that he can actually pay it off based on what he wants to do regarding the healthcare and the education and a whole bunch of other free stuff.
Well, I mean, the 3 people I spoke to, I think every one of them was talking about COVID. They were against this mask. They were against this whole. They were like, COVID is fake. This is nonsense. Like, why are our rights of, like, what is this social distancing? So it was just an attack on that, and I think like they were really. I mean, their toes were dug deep in that idea and that reality, and I think that's what caused them to vote for Trump.
You think those people would have voted for Trump even before COVID, if that's their only gripe?
Well, I'm sure, because they probably
COVID influenced the independents more, man. So, like, I mean, again, it's like a stupid data point. I just spoke to 3 people, all right, but 2 of them are independents. Like, they don't think like either Democrats or the Republicans are like are the best for them, but they didn't like this whole social sanctioning, especially like when like they felt like, okay, the disease kills less than 1%, so why does the rest of the 99 point something has to suffer, And I think that I don't know if that's symptomatic for like a larger population, but it is what it is. A 3 people data point from me, man. That's all.
Yeah, by the way, I wasn't able to set up the live streaming to the new channel, the philosophy channel, The Philosopher, which is a channel I created on YouTube, because it didn't let me, because apparently you have to set it up like 24 hours ahead of time or something like that. So I'm just streaming this to my personal channel instead. But next time I'll stream it to The Philosopher, which is the YouTube channel. But I don't know. I don't understand why they need 24 hours to let you stream live. But apparently that's how it works. David already knew this, but the rest of you probably didn't.
Interesting. So there might be another path. He needs Iowa. Huh?
You think he's 48% reporting, Biden lead, but most of the rural Iowa counties are not reporting yet. So
yeah,
Iowa, Biden is ahead.
Yeah, I'd say Iowa might go Trump actually.
How are you looking at who's voting? Which counties are reporting?
You just click on the Google. I'm just doing Google election, and you just click on the state, and it zooms in, and then the counties pop up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you guys watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
Yeah, I did.
You did, Rupinder?
Yeah. What about it?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good documentary, and it talks about how, like what you guys are saying, that people have different truths, different sets of input for information, and you get, right now we live in an age that you get personalized information, and what anyone gets is basically different from what the person next to them is going to get, even if they live in the same town or the same country, based on whatever algorithms decide that they're going to like, or that they should watch. So that explains to a large extent why people have now very different sets of truth. And it's scary.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just the reality when AI drives what people see. Right, it just automates and becomes better at just showing information that they want to see, which is not necessarily true information, but it's the information they want to see.
It's scary how people can. I understand how someone would realize, okay, COVID, there's a risk to it, but I decide to still do these things. I'm willing to accept the risk. Okay, fine, but I don't understand how people, so many people just think it's fake, like it's a fake news, COVID.
Because it's the epistemology that they apply to their reality, right? That's the issue, right? So if you look at the majority of people and what epistemology they apply to understanding reality, it's just what they prefer. That's their epistemology.
So what they accept as truth is what they prefer. Is that what you're saying?
Whatever feels good to them, right? And so for the majority of humans, right, that is how they decide what's true. Very few humans truly take the time to analyze or actually have an epistemology in the first place. Most people don't even understand what epistemology is, right? Most people don't understand how do you determine what is true about reality, right? Most people haven't even thought about that.
And they probably shouldn't. And the reason they probably shouldn't is because if everyone's going to create their own epistemology, you know how much time that's going to take? How much time we've all spent reading philosophy and thinking about things and learning different perspectives. If everyone in the whole country did that, assuming that everyone has the capacity to actually question their epistemology, the cost of that would be too high. It's better off get fed like a basic narrative and then just run with it.
I don't think you need to necessarily have people come to the conclusion of their own epistemology. My argument is simply people don't know of it, right? That's what the education system ought to be like, right? So to me, the biggest failing of even I went to a really good school, went to a private school that's really good, but even there, right? They teach critical thinking at high level of just having conversations, right? And thinking through stuff. But the whole concept of, how do you determine what is true about reality, right? That concept is not very well thought. Even if you look at most science classes, right? Science is an epistemology, But do you learn this in epistemology? No. You learn a bunch of facts. And that is what science class is, right? And so science is supposed to be an epistemology. It's how you understand reality, how you determine what's true about reality. If you never learn that in science class, how are you going to learn to determine what's true, right? And to me, that's not a concept that's even talked about at all in school.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Like, what are the different options?
Yeah. You don't know. And it's also really hard. I mean, people have been arguing about this for thousands of years, and it's not like it's solved. You know, it's not like we've finally come to in 2020 a worldview that's most correct, that everyone can just have, and it is correct. We don't know what's true. We don't know certainty.
I think we have a very effective epistemology in this day and age. It's pretty clearly effective.
On some things, yeah, but on values, like on science, like matters of science, like on global warming, pretty effective. On COVID, pretty effective. Like on scientific matters, but as far as values, things like abortion, how does a different epistemology affect your opinion on that? How about immigration? How does an epistemology affect your opinion on that?
Sure.
Like these are value questions that are much more subjective than they are like we can all agree on epistemology and then we're all going to agree on this.
Right, but the question Bruno specifically asked was specifically to COVID, right? And so to me, it's that's the question, right? Like if you don't have a scientific method for evaluating reality and you believe what feels good, then something as simple as COVID or climate change, etc., just dissolves into whatever feels better for you, right? And what feels better for everybody is the fact that none of these problems actually exist in the first place. Right? That's what always feels better, is that a problem doesn't exist rather than existing. And then guess what? We don't face our problems. So
yeah, maybe, but sometimes it feels better to have a problem exist. A scenario for that would be like a scapegoat. So let's say you've got a problem and then you want to justify your failure or something, you can scapegoat another group of people creating a problem in order to explain away your failures or explain away some bad situation that's happening. So I don't know if we always want to just comfortably not face a problem. I think it's maybe a little more.
But a scapegoat is not actually facing the problem, right? Like that's just another thing of situation where it's not that there's a problem in the first place. It's just saying that, like it's all about what makes the ego feel better, right? So it's even if the problem. So it's interesting because it's the same people who say the problem doesn't exist are the same people that will also, if directly questioned about the problem, they will give two different answers. One is that either the problem doesn't exist. The second is that they will scapegoat, in this case, China, for the problem, right? But they will give both answers because both answers feel good to them. And so their ultimate epistemology for understanding their reality is what feels better, right? Yeah. And the whole concept of, here's the thing, like there's a lot of non-intuitive things about reality, unfortunately. But, that means that an effective epistemology can figure out things that are completely counterintuitive, right? The concept of like quantum mechanics and electrons like existing in multiple different states at the same time, completely counterintuitive. But experiments show that it's true. So like, to me, that's the key to like the key indicator of a very effective epistemology is that it allows you to find out new things about reality and then apply it, right? And you can truly apply it. And we've applied things like that, like quantum tunneling as an example has been utilized in engineering to build stuff. It's kind of weird, but
yeah, I think I'll agree with you when it like comes to the natural world and when it comes to science, that if we can agree on that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we need a common epistemology that is science to use. But we got to be also careful. I see a lot of people posting things. This study said this study said that, and it's really easy to find two studies that conclude contradictory, that have conclusions that are contradictory. And so when we use science, we got to be careful that we aren't saying science equals absolute truth. Science is a method, and it gives us a probability, a plausibility that something is true, and it's a really powerful and good method that we should all recognize, I think, and incorporate in our lives. But we should be careful not to say this study said this, so science says this. The consensus is this. It's like, you know, it's also unclear exactly what science says. Always, does gravity exist? Yeah, absolutely exists. We're not questioning that. But there's other issues that are very difficult, like quantum mechanics, for example. We don't know if that's true. We think it probably is. The plausibility of those models to be accurate is pretty high because we can use them again and again and test and predict, and then we come back and it's right. But it's not like absolute truth. I think that's an important thing to think about too.
But that's what's really uncomfortable with most people, right? And so that becomes the issue, is that a lot of people need an absolute truth to feel good, right? Yeah. Because it's hard to base your decisions off of things that are most likely true, but potentially, if you get new information, could be incorrect in the future. People have a hard time with being wrong, right? And so, to me, the simple perspective is that, like, the fundamental problem is that most people, their epistemology, like, you need to be taught this epistemology, or you need to figure it out for yourself, right? And that means that the probability of most people actually adopting that epistemology is extremely low, right? Yeah. And it takes a lot of energy of a lot of humans to propagate that epistemology, versus a lot of other epistemologies, it will just self-propagate, right? Because that is just the default.
I think that's a great argument against religion. You know?
Absolutely.
Right? Because what could be like a more absolute truth than, the word of God? And then you can see that, like, you know, the how the culture and the behaviors work, where there's always going to be a scapegoat, you know.
You know, I think we're gonna have to have some podcasts we're gonna have to find some Republican people, and we're gonna have to figure this out, like, by asking Republicans, like, why they vote for Trump. Because, I mean, none of us here probably vote for Trump or want to vote for Trump.
But, I mean, have you talked to somebody who would vote for Trump?
I haven't really talked to someone who wants to vote for Trump or votes for Trump. I don't think about that.
I know two people who would love to jump on a debate.
I don't even want to debate people, you know, like, that's another thing that we can do. But honestly, I mean,
jump on and just talk about it, you know?
I want to talk about it. I want to understand these issues and where people are coming from as well, you know, because I mean, it's seriously, I mean, it's difficult to understand. For me, it's difficult to understand. For a lot of people, it's difficult to understand. I think, like what David was saying, you know, that people have, like, different sets of truth. That's also a problem, that people don't understand each other, because you don't even understand why you would say that. You don't even understand why you think that, you know? So it's very hard to be in the same realm even, you know? It's like people have different worlds.
You know, Bruno, a difficult thing about that is, even if you do speak with someone, one or two people, and they have a decent argument, you can't really take that as the average reason as to why people vote for Trump.
Well, we have to talk to a lot of people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, Bruno, if you want to know, well, I'm sure a few people here know some Trump supporters. I know a lot of Republicans, but not being one myself. But if you want to hear, like, the intellectual side of the Trump movement, just, like, watch some Peter Thiel. You know that guy?
I don't know.
Peter Thiel's a libertarian, though.
Yeah, but he's a big Trump supporter. He was he voted for Trump this time and 2016, and he helped build the cabinet of Trump in 2016, and he's a vocal supporter of the guy. Anyway, but he's a guy you could listen to. He's actually quite smart. He's kind of coming from a different field. He's kind of coming from, I'd say, like, if philosophically you could put him in, like, 1890 Germany, that's probably what he would fit into. If you had to place him somewhere, I would guess.
With Nietzsche?
Yeah, probably a little Nietzsche, but not but not quite. He's a character. But yeah, if you wanna listen to some dude that's pretty smart and that can like give you some insight into the worldview, like that'd probably be one of the guys to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and, but
We
if
gotta
you look
figure
at
this out, man, because it's weird. I think that's part of the problem is that people can't really figure out where the other people are coming from. You know.
I can explain their worldview pretty well.
Well, okay. Well, go ahead.
Like, so the reality of their worldview is that most of these people, right, have been the story they hear, right, is what's important, right? So if you grow up in a rural town, right, and everybody around you is basically white, right? So you got to take that into consideration. A lot of what is culturally normal and the majority of the thing they're thinking about growing up, they go to church every Sunday or pretty often, right? God is a fundamental part of their belief system, right? And that is the basis of what's good and bad, et cetera, et cetera. And then they slowly, right? Like the majority of the things they hear as they grow up are based around this cultural system, right? This cultural system also has stories that they tell of people externally, right? And so to them, they may not admit it directly, right? But, there's a lot of the whole, like, immigrants are bad. Like, these stories filter in very quickly, right? Because they have never encountered these people, right? They've never encountered somebody that looks like me, right? Mm-hmm. And so their exposure is only the things that they're exposed to. Being, in this case, what starts becoming their only exposure points, right, is it starts with the people that are more extreme. They have exposure to stuff, things like, Rush Limbaugh, or you talk about Fox News, right? The people who represent good Christian values and family, which is the Republicans, right? These are all the values of the Republican Party, quote unquote, right? So those are the values of the Republican Party. This is a cultural norm. Okay, now if you look at what the media, the Republican media is saying, right? If you go on Fox News, if you go on Rush Limbaugh, you go on Alex Jones is kind of, I don't know if you quite classify, he's kind of Republican, kind of just libertarian, kind of crazy. But if you listen to a lot of these Republican talk shows, right, all they spew all day long is, immigrants are ruining the country, everybody's attacking Christianity, you're the victim, right? You're the victim, you're poor because you're being oppressed by the immigrants, and the immigrants are taking your jobs, right? Mm-hmm. This is the rhetoric, right? And if that is all you're exposed to, right, and you have no exposure beyond that, other than people you don't know telling you that you're wrong, what feels the best to you?
Okay.
Right? What feels most likely right? The people around you, the culture you're brought up in, your family members, or some random person, right, saying you're wrong, right? Does that feel good, them saying that you're wrong? No, it doesn't. Does it feel good that they're saying that what your family is telling you is wrong? No, it doesn't, right? And so then, you just spew it and spin it up, and slowly it just becomes more and more extreme, because guess what? All of these channels, right, Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, etc., are actually making money off of this. And how do they make money? By keeping your attention. And how do they keep your attention? By spinning up stories. They make money by spinning up the stories, by making the stories crazier and crazier to keep your attention. And that's what's been happening over the last 10 years.
You're right that they do that. I think that's not symptomatic of the right wing. I think that's symptomatic of media. I mean, media, if you just turn on anything, it's just a bunch of big stories, breaking news, this, the big bombshell story, that, and a lot of it's part of big media, and the traditional media is dying. They're realizing, well, they're losing numbers to people that are going online, to YouTube, to blogs, to whatever it is. Part of it's clickbait, part of it's they're desperate. I don't know if the whole feel-good story thing is limited to the right. It's present, strong, but I think it's a feature of just, I think it's a feature of universal suffrage democracy that you've got story appeals to people, because feeling good, listening to a story, telling you you're the victim, gets you to go out and vote and support whoever's telling you that. And that's just a reality that we're sort of in at this point.
I wouldn't say that liberals are any better, right? Like the same stuff happens on the liberal side. I was just explaining how do people believe in this stuff, right?
Mhm.
What is the basis? What is their arc, right? What is their life like that allows them to believe this stuff, right? And so this is what happens. And so my hypothesis would be, when you're looking at the United States as we're looking at it, right? There's another portion of this puzzle which we haven't talked about. We talked about how do they become this way, right? But on the other portion of the question is, how are they the majority, right? Right? So there's two sides, right? How do you believe this stuff is one. How does the majority of people believe this stuff is a second? And so I think if you look at the population that represents Democrats versus Republicans, right? Or conservatives versus liberals, what you'll see is, if you look at their families, is that conservatives will actually have way more kids, right? And liberals won't. And if you take that trajectory, that trend line over time, guess what's going to happen?
You're going to have more Republicans, in theory.
Absolutely. And if you can get, like, it seems like even if you get the majority of the vote out, right? Even if you get all the vote out, even in the cities, those Republicans, those conservatives will still far outnumber the liberals, and the majority of liberals live in cities.
Bruno's thinking right now, hey, Beth, we got one, maybe a couple more.
Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. Man,
So-
I don't know, but
So that's the reality that we live in. So if you look at it almost from a physics standpoint, right, that's what you get to, right? If you look at the fundamentals, the foundation, like the first principles approach.
but like, so okay, so you're like, what you're saying is that some values there, like a whole community has a bunch of values, and I mean, you're probably right to some extent, I'm not saying, I just want to think about it. So this whole community has these values that are associated with specific party, which is now, I mean, these parties, Republican and Democrat, are really true religions almost, because they're two different ways of life.
I wouldn't call it that. So Trumpism has become a religion-esque item, right? If you look at the fervor that is within Trump supporters, Trump has basically come to represent basically he's a hero figure, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the liberals actually don't have a hero figure.
Right. I mean, for the time being is Biden, but yeah, obviously it's not.
But Biden isn't a hero figure. That's very crucial to note. Like if you look at
he's the name on the ballot.
Yes, he's a name on the ballot, but he's not a hero figure to a huge portion of the liberal base. He's not.
Probably no one.
Nobody.
Not a lot of people. Not a lot.
There's some newer people who are like, if you look at somebody like AOC as an example, like she's becoming kind of a heroine figure type.
Yeah, or even Sanders.
Her and Sanders, right? Those are the two big ones. But here's the issue: a huge portion of the liberal base does not believe in that, and they will not vote for it.
Yeah, Sanders lost.
Right? And so that fervor is not a majority of the party, whereas that fervor in the Republican Party is the majority of the party.
So, but that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, which is you have these values that are associated with this party, which is really like a way of looking at the world. It's a dogma. But when you look at like religion, for example, right? Like how these people have religious values, that doesn't really connect, correlate to Trump. Trump is not even a religious guy, and he doesn't really live by those values.
His party
That's
is
why-
associated to that. I think that's what's connected.
Well, it's hard for me to understand how people would associate him with that. Right? Because
A large majority of people aren't voting for Trump, they're voting for the party. I think that's an important distinguishing point. Likewise, on the other side, I actually know people who are not voting for Biden. They're voting for the Democratic Party. They want the Democrats to win. And they
Yeah.
care less about Biden. So I think that's a large aspect of it.
Might be. Well, there's also on the right, the people that are, I think we're when we say half the country's racist or half the country's loves Trump, it's really, I don't think most Republicans really like Trump. Of all my neighbors, I happen to buy a house in a place where I'm surrounded by Republicans. I don't know how that happened, but whenever I talk to them about it, none of them like the guy. They all think he's a flawed character. They don't like the way he acts. They don't like how he treats women. They don't like how he talks. But they all vote for him. So that's probably worth pointing out. When we say like a Trump supporter, half the country is not Trump supporters. Most of the majority of conservatives would much rather have someone else. But it's just we ended up with this guy, so
Well, clearly not the majority because the majority voted for Trump.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
you're correct. You're correct in the sense that, like, yes, no, I would not say all of the conservatives or Republicans believe in Trump or would vote, like, truly want to vote for Trump. But
maybe a majority of conservatives, but maybe not.
if you look at the primaries, though, right?
What's that?
If you look at the primaries,
Yeah,
was like in 2016, Trump was winning by a pretty substantial majority.
Yeah, I guess he won, but I don't know. I mean, there weren't very many good candidates for conservatives to pick through. Most of them didn't like Jeb Bush. What was there like Jeb Bush and a few other guys? There weren't any strong conservatives that most people were into at that point. Trump, I don't know. I don't know how exactly he got through.
it's also true that maybe someone's perception of Trump 4 years ago is not the same as someone's perception of Trump today, because he was a lot more of a new item than he is today. Now people have had 4 years to deal with the guy and listen to him, understand what he's about. So, at that point, maybe their perception of Trump was not exactly their perception of Trump today. That's another,
the level of fervor that Trump supporters has is far beyond any fervor that exists in the Democratic base.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think so. Unless you had a Bernie Sanders, then Bernie Sanders would Trump.
Yeah. I think there would have, but I don't think you and Sanders would have this level of fervor. Right?
You don't think?
This is not quite. You would need like an AOC type candidate to really get this level of fervor.
But then you'd get then we're talking like 20-something-year-old girls fervor. I mean, that's a very small minority of people.
Actually, so
if it was AOC, I mean, she's like this sort of spirit of the just graduated college liberals, but
it's more
the people do not like her.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just saying, how are you going to get a similar level of fervor? Like, here's the thing: Sanders, though he generates a huge level of buzz, doesn't quite generate this level. Well, I don't think any of them could, even close, on such a large population size. They would because I knew a lot of like extreme liberals, or basically socialists in college, like they call themselves socialists, right? And so their viewpoint was generally, right, like they would either need somebody extreme or they wouldn't vote for the main person, right? And that's where you can start getting that fervor level. But I think the issue, it's really interesting. It goes back to there's like a saying in religious arguments about, or there's like the whole concept of skepticism, right? when we talk about skepticism, the whole concept of like questioning your own reality reduces the level of fervor. And when you have such a substantial portion of the Democratic Party, the Democrats, being willing to question their own reality, the level of fervor also substantially declines, is what seems to happen.
I don't know. I don't know if I see any difference in questioning one's reality between, I don't know, between the parties. They both seem like very ideological to me at this point. Maybe a certain subset of both groups, probably there's a larger subset of liberals that are like that.
You think
But a
so?
subset.
They are both pretty ideological. I would agree on that.
No, to maybe the way to rephrase it, if going back to epistemology, start where we were talking.
But you know, but you know, like so you're saying, David, that a lot of these Republicans, they don't like Trump, or they don't, like him a lot. They would rather vote for someone else. Okay,
Yeah.
let's take that, right? So, but they would still rather vote for Trump rather than voting for whoever the Democratic candidate is, in this case, Biden.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's something like that.
would you agree that that's kind of the situation?
Yeah, to some degree, that's the situation. He's kind of like someone that they'd rather see him than. I mean, the sort of rhetoric the right wing is putting out right now is that Biden is this radical left wing that supports Antifa and blah blah
That's
blah.
bullshit. That's bullshit. That's what Trump is saying, because like he's putting words in his mouth, right? Because
Biden's kind of a centrist. I mean,
exactly. Biden is a centrist, so it's ridiculous.
I know, but we gotta realize that we're not speaking from we're not looking at the same sources. So a lot of the right wings believing that, right?
Yeah.
That Biden's going to be this radical left sympathizer, which I don't think is true. I don't even think Kamala Harris would be a radical left sympathizer. She, like, looking at her record, she's like extremely crime and stuff like that. But honestly, a lot of people don't like Trump, but maybe they're just telling me that too. I mean, there's a certain degree of like, you're alone in your room and you watch a Trump video, and some Republicans like have a secret little laugh and a secret little, yeah, I kind of like this. Yeah, I'm secretly a little racist and I just kind of like this guy.
Especially true in the cities.
Yeah. So like there's that element too, I would say, but no one really likes Trump. Like, I haven't met a single person that's been like, hands down, Trump is my man. Like, I don't know.
I think that's kind of an exaggeration. Some people do like Trump because, you look at his rallies, the people that go to his rallies and are pretty.
If you look at the lines of pickup trucks that were driving down the highway, all the flags flying out of the back of them.
Yeah, well, I haven't met those guys. That's all I'm saying. I haven't met anyone that really likes it. Definitely they exist, but
they're not. Yeah. Here's the thing: most of them don't live in the cities. Is the reality.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And so there's a question of what portion of the population lives in the rural area, right?
Yep.
Like, what portion of the American population is rural? I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at something like, look at Indiana, man. I mean, it's 75% reporting, 60% Donald Trump. Or Kentucky, same thing. Tennessee, same thing. Alabama, even more. South Carolina, almost 60%.
Right. So it's interesting. So looking at it, it looks like around 20% of America's population lives in a rural area. But then you do have states that are, regardless of even being in a main city, people are conservative. So maybe the combination of those two together is where you get a majority.
What is the Bible Belt in the United States?
The Bible Belt?
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically
one of them.
Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina.
Right.
I think
like it's huge. Like you got Supreme Court candidate, which can probably overthrow one of the biggest things which they were like looking for, right? So they don't have to like Trump for that. They can just vote based just on that, because that's something extremely important for them. homosexuality, gay people, that same thing, you know. So
What's weird though is that
gay marriage is going to be on the ballot. Abortion
Okay.
is going to be on the ballot because now you got a Supreme Court which is primarily conservative. So why would they not support Trump? They would.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's true, right? Like, and that's part of the reason why the huge conservative base really supports Trump. Like, it's like, hey, they're gonna put the right Supreme Court justices in that are gonna overturn all the laws that matter to them.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm tired. So
Yeah.
All right.
It's starting to get late.
It was lovely meeting all of you again. We'll do it again, Bruno.
we will certainly do it again from now on regularly.
So, ciao, guys.
All
Good to
right,
see you.
Rupinder, thank
Yeah,
you for
I'll
joining.
probably head out too. So
You're gonna head out, man. You guys are heading out pretty.
yeah, I mean, at this point, it looks like if you look at the states, it's coming down to votes that are going to take time to count.
Well, now it seems that I'm looking at the result. It seems that it has, like, now they're saying Biden is quite a bit ahead. 209 against 118.
Yeah, but that's because a lot of states haven't been called yet. So if you look at, and so that's why I'm saying it's going to come down to the mail-in votes, right? Remember what I said at the end of the night? I think Trump's going to technically be winning. I guess if you look at the Electoral College, technically he's not winning, but if you look at the states, right, he's ahead. So if you look at Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Montana, all these states, Trump is leading in right now. They have not been called for Trump, right? And so as these mail-in ballots get counted over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes, right? To me, that's what's going to flip the race back.
So we're not gonna know by the end of the day, basically.
No.
I'm going with my initial prediction. We're going to see a Trump win again.
If you guys had to call or like bet on North Carolina, Florida, Texas, or Pennsylvania going one way or the other, which of those states do you think Biden would win? Because it looks like Trump's leading in them all right now, but the margins of error are either really close or like there's not a lot of votes reported.
Well, we can go one by one. So you said Texas. Trump is winning more or less 52% to 40%.
Within a margin of error, though.
Yeah.
So Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Those are the states to look at.
Okay. So Texas, Trump is ahead, and I mean that sounds.
Trump's ahead in all these states.
Yeah. I mean, just kind of like messing around with the.
So Jesse was basically asking which one would flip. My guess.
Flip in which direction?
Yeah,
for
they're on
Biden
Trump right now. So
For Biden?
if they would flip to Biden. My prediction would be, I would lean towards either Pennsylvania or Michigan being the places that flip. Yeah, Michigan, Pennsylvania, potentially even Texas.
I would say Texas because Texas is pretty close. The other ones are not that close anymore.
Honestly, for Biden to win, he's going to win Arizona probably.
If he flips,
Arizona has 11, Minnesota has 10, so that's 21. If he gets Iowa's neck and neck, so hard to say. So 11 plus 10 plus Maine is 25. Those are the uncalled. So he's got 209. So 209 plus 25 is 34. So 234. You need 270 to win. So he's still down. How much is that? 34, 40, 36 points. So he'd need to win something significant on top of that to win. Like the path to victory for Biden is pretty rough at this point.
You think so?
I think so.
Wow. Wow, really?
Well, I'm not a professional broadcaster, but I'm just looking at the Google.
Dude, we're better than CNN. Let's believe in it.
Well, well, it's looking like Florida's called. I'd be really surprised if Texas flipped.
Well, Florida is, yeah, it looks like Trump. Yeah.
If 98%,
Yeah.
they might as well call it.
I mean, Texas, to be honest, Texas is pretty close.
It's pretty close. You're totally right.
Yeah.
But all right, if Texas goes Biden, he's got the whole thing. No question.
Right.
But
if he wins Texas, would he win the election, you think?
If Biden wins Texas?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would probably be his best bet.
Yeah, but the chances, I mean, it's possible. It's possible, but
I mean, Pennsylvania is looking very bad when you look at the numbers.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in Pennsylvania.
It looks very, very bad.
It's spreading.
I don't think Biden's going to win Pennsylvania, man.
But keep in mind, 49% in Pennsylvania. So
yeah, I was gonna say, it's the mail-in votes haven't been counted yet. So everywhere that's left, right, they're basically stuck now because mail-in votes need to be counted, and then
because on CNN, that's what the person
John King.
Yeah, John King is going from like county to county and showing like maybe 16%, 20% of the votes.
And their city.
Yeah,
their city.
Yeah.
So like that's important to keep in mind is a lot of these places that have mail-in votes that have not been counted are city areas, right? They have substantial portions of votes left to be counted, and they haven't been counted yet. So.
Okay, so that could flip Pennsylvania, maybe.
Yes, I mean
it's a pretty
Pennsylvania.
big
It's like
difference
places
at
in
this
Detroit or Michigan, like Detroit, Michigan, or Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, they're showing Philadelphia.
Yeah, so like Philadelphia, they haven't counted all. Like it's very low percentage of the votes have been counted.
Okay, and Philadelphia is overwhelmingly Democrat.
Or you look at like probably
the blue is mainly the blue areas. Actually, the red areas is mostly like people who are voting today. So those are counted first, and then they will go to the mail-in ballot.
Okay, so maybe he does have a chance in Pennsylvania, even though it looks very bad.
That's what he's saying. John King is like, don't give up hope.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. Like I said, like
what are people saying? Because we're mostly talking here, but what are they saying on TV? Because I can't have the TV on and talk to you guys. Do you guys know what they're saying?
Looks like Iowa just flipped to Trump.
Well, that's a iffy one then.
Iowa? Well, it's very close though, and there's a long way. But yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
Well, yeah, all the rural counties.
Biden was ahead, and now Trump is ahead. So.
Probably, I'd say.
Neck and neck, that one.
Well, in Iowa, but zoom in on Iowa, you can see the counties that haven't been reported. They're all rural. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to double down on it looking like Trump at the end of the night. But there's a lot of ways that it might not pan out that way. Just looking at like the margins of error in Texas, Florida, North Carolina.
Well, but it seems that Biden is going to end up ahead at the end of the night, right? From what we're seeing here.
I mean, to me, ahead is, I guess, if we're talking about electoral college, yeah, Biden's ahead. If we're talking about states where, if you stop the vote count right now, and counted up the electoral college, Trump's winning.
Trump's winning the popular vote right now.
And he's winning the popular vote right now too. So I guess we probably should have more clearly defined what winning at the end of the day means. But to me, winning at the end of the day is you freeze the vote count and you count up the electoral college, right? So
it's funny that you say that when we talk about epistemology and how we're interpreting things, if we're all using different definitions of winning here.
Yep.
Because I'm looking at apparent wins, things that are pretty clearly trending one way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, California is so Biden. It's almost 70%.
Just to be clear, you gave them Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Okay, I'm gonna call it a night, guys. It's been fun. It's been
Okay.
interesting.
I think
To be
there's-
continued when the results have been announced, right?
I think there's some potential for tomorrow because tomorrow might be a more interesting meeting.
This
Because
thing's
tomorrow
gonna
we
go
might
on
be
for more
either
than just tomorrow,
crying or very confused or happy. I mean, but maybe we'll have some more emotion tomorrow, and some more results. I mean, some more.
I think the next touch point will be votes have all come in and who won.
Yeah, well, that might be tomorrow or not, but
It's not going to be tomorrow, Bruno. It's going to take a few weeks.
which is
Who
possible.
does someone want to put in that that betting odds website on this in the chat?
It's called electionbettingodds.com.
It's ahead. Yeah, that's a good one.
It completely flipped today.
So Biden was ahead and now Trump is ahead?
Yeah, so Biden had 65% and now Trump's over 75%. So
75.
Yeah. Yep. It completely just flipped. So
wow.
All right. I'm gonna call it. I keep coming back and talking.
Why are you in a hurry? What do you have to do?
The lady behind me is gonna get mad, so I'm gonna
okay, I get it.
check out. She's already mad at me. Scratch that.
It's okay. It's
Catch you guys
okay.
later.
That often happens with ladies. You'll learn. Bye bye.
See you guys.
See ya.
I think I'm also gonna call
See
it.
you, man.
So.
All right.
Jesse.
All right, Jesse. It was nice chatting, man.
Yeah,
I think
good
we're
to talk to
good
you guys.
now. TK, are you still on?
I am, man. Can you
Yeah,
guys hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just
This is-
looking at the results. It seems very interesting. Again, I feel like I feel like it's a very. Whenever the polls come in, it's always extremely hopeful. It's like people like Texas is gonna flip, Florida is gonna flip, and it's like it just seems way too positive for the left. But,
For the left?
yeah, even in 2016, that's kind of what the
2016 was weird because Trump was not really that far behind, and everybody was saying, "Oh no, there's no way he can win." I mean, that was kind of silly though, because he wasn't that behind.
He wasn't. You're right. He was pretty close in Minnesota too. That was really
He was
surprising.
pretty close.
Yeah. So like, I'm not quite sure why these old numbers are wrong.
Yeah, that was a little bit bizarre in 2016. I think just because Trump is so ridiculous in some of the things that he says that what I mean is like they took it as, okay, this is some reality TV. People are gonna watch it if we talk about Trump, right? Because we can use these quotes.
Yeah.
People are gonna be entertained by this, like reality TV,
Yeah.
in their minds, it was a joke. He couldn't win.
No. Yeah. Exactly.
But
Yeah.
that wasn't really supported, by polls or any data. I mean, he was behind, but he wasn't, very behind. I mean, he was pretty close.
Yeah. I don't think the Republican Party liked him either. But he did win, and then now he's leading them, which is like a real power move. Like he is essentially leading the whole party. He has changed it.
He changed the party.
He did. And remember when he came in and said the Iraq War was a mistake? I mean, that was something that I never thought a Republican would say.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans were pretty different before Trump. I would say the party was pretty different.
Yeah. People wanted Ted Cruz, and I don't know about Ted Cruz. Not a big fan.
No, I don't like Ted Cruz, but yeah, it was a different era. It was certainly different.
Yeah. It was also interesting to see him like talk to these other politicians on stage with the other Republicans.
Mhm.
Like they had a hard time really responding to him. You guys notice that? Like it's like they never been really challenged like that, perhaps. So they didn't really know how to really respond to him. And he's just like someone who's just on there, just kind of roasting them in a way, and they never knew how to respond to him. And maybe they should have responded better, and that would have changed a lot of things.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, he he completely destroyed Jeb Bush just by being a bully to him.
Yeah. Jeb. Remember that? Jeb.
But I guess this is going to be a fight more than people thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, hard to say. It's looking like it's leaning heavily Trump right now, I would say.
I don't really understand that math very well, so I'm going to study this after we're done with the call, because I think you guys understand the math better than I do.
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. Like, even though Biden's currently winning votes, like there are a lot of like on the verge red states, I think is what they're saying.
Well, basically,
I know.
yeah,
I don't
it comes
understand
down
exactly
to
what you're saying.
if you just look at the map. So let's say Trump takes Texas, almost for sure. I mean, not almost for sure, but pretty likely. Florida, pretty much for sure. You know, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Iowa, Montana. Those are all haven't been called yet, so he hasn't been awarded the electoral points, but they're all highly likely to go to Trump. In order for Biden to get from 209 to 270, if he wins all that he's projected to currently win, Arizona 11, Minnesota 10, Maine 4.
Okay.
So
now I'm starting to get it. Yeah.
you get it 25 plus 29 is 235. 235 is still, or 234 is still quite short. So he'd have to flip one of these Trump states to win. Hard to say if he can do that. Even if he flips Pennsylvania, he's still not going to win.
So it's that close. It's that close then.
Yeah, I don't know what about Nevada though. That nothing from Nevada yet. So
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe they have different like policy in their state. They collect votes differently.
Yeah, that's kind of bizarre because it's the only one that doesn't appear.
How do Alaska and Hawaii tend to lead?
Ooh, I forgot about those.
Yeah, those are also not reporting, but I'm guessing that's probably because of the time zone. And those are pretty small, so I don't think they're going to be very influential.
It's not gonna.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah.
I mean, Nevada is not really that big either.
I don't really know a lot about how different states usually lean. How does Nevada usually vote?
Republican, I'm sure. But I'm just guessing.
Actually, 2016, Clinton pulled Nevada.
Oh, really? So I was wrong.
But yeah, six electoral votes. So.
Huh, yeah, that's interesting. Nevada is not showing anything.
Whoever designed the UI to this Google thing should have put in a little more data, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. All right. Well, I'm probably got to get going to bed.
Okay, sounds good, man. So
I'm gonna get out too, man. Here.
Well, okay, so we can end it. We'll have some. I actually think that maybe the next one is going to be more interesting because we'll actually have the results.
Yeah.
I mean, today was an interesting conversation. It was good to get people together again.
There's a lot of people. That was fun.
Yeah, it was good. Hopefully, we'll get some good meetings going on, and I want to do some podcasts with not a lot of people. You know, just more one-on-one, or 3 people, 4 at most, Joe Rogan style.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you guys saw the first one that I posted, but that style.
Cool, man.
You think it's done updating for the night?
I did. Good night, man.
See you later.
All right. Good night, guys. Thank you for showing up. It was fun.
All right, Bruno. It's time to head out.
We'll get together soon, man. We'll keep in touch on Facebook and figure out a good day for our conversation. But today,
yeah, sure. That'd be good.
Where's your girlfriend? Is she sleeping?
My wife?
Well, your wife now, yeah. I guess she's not sleeping because it's 10:30. She's not a baby.
Oh no, she's feeling a little sick, so hopefully it's not COVID. But yeah, she went to bed early.
You guys have contact with people, or you mostly 'cause
Well,
you're mostly at home, right?
well, mostly at home. My work requires me to go in 3 days a week. So
So you go
some,
in.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So there's a chance, here and there, but hopefully not. Hopefully not.
I mean, yeah, most of the time it's not going to be COVID.
Yeah.
So it'd be okay. It's normal for people to get a little bit sick around this time of the year. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All right, man. We'll get together sometime on Skype or whatever and
Sounds
catch
good.
up a little.
That's
But,
exciting. All
Good
right.
to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Carolyn.